Welcome back to Dialogue Choices. It's been a few weeks. I don't remember how many or why at this point. But here
It
we
has
are.
been 3 weeks, which at this point is more or less our regular schedule.
Yeah, things happen.
Yeah.
Think.
Many things happened.
Yeah, I don't remember how many reasons different people were gone anymore. I just don't. But a bunch of things happened. And selfishly, I'm like, haha, I launched my video essay channel with actual videos and also hit 100,000 subscribers. So I'm the main character. Yeah.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
And tomorrow, I'll be dragging Andrew back to hell.
Great.
Oh, that's right.
As we record the third game in the series that was the reason, is basically the reason he quit Let's Playing for like a year or two. Like, you legitimately, like,
Oh my
we
God.
recorded all of Zero Escape and then we were going to start airing it. And I went through and continually aired the whole thing, but he uploaded the first 2 episodes and then never aired any of it again, and also stopped uploading to his entire channel for like a year or something. Like, I thought he was just done forever.
Yeah, I think you said, Andrew, I think you said that you were basically done with Let's Play.
Yeah.
I remember you saying that.
It was probably during
it-
that era where you like streamed some stuff that you never recorded.
Yeah.
Like
At that
your,
point,
your
I
Sekiro
mean,
playthrough that's lost to time.
even now, I still like struggle to upload videos. It's just been like that game is just so bad. It's just like
It
there's
caused
like
irreversible damage.
it really made me realize that there's so much there's so many better things in this planet than most of the stuff I've ingested in my lifetime. Like, looking back at all the games I've played, I've wasted so much time because they're all garbage. They're just all garbage. And then it just like the catalyst is this fucking awful human mistake that is an embarrassment to our species and to any other intelligent life forms that could possibly come across our pathetic existences and see this and go, oh my God, someone fucking made this and people bought it with money? You paid for this? Like, someone should have paid you to endure this.
And to those who are a little bit confused about what we're talking about, even if it isn't obvious, it's Zero Escape.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Keith mentioned
No,
it.
I said Zero Escape.
And it's just,
Oh, did you? Oh.
Yeah.
Because you're playing the third one.
Yep, Zero Time Dilemma.
Oh my God.
In a
It's the good
franchise
one,
of
Keith.
confusing naming because
it's the
I
good one.
mean,
Finally, the good one has
the
shown up.
contrarian in me is excited because I'm like, what if I like it? What if I like the one everyone hates?
After watching
I can
the
make a
recap
video
videos,
essay that's like Zero Time Dilemma is good actually, which is like the
No.
exact naming
Yeah.
scheme people use.
No, you can't. Because you would have to live in a world where where the guy that wrote Zero Escape has nothing to do with Zero Time Dilemma. That's the only way
I
you can
think
make it
That
good.
is the thing, is you always have to wonder, when everyone hates something, is it for stupid reasons, like The Last of Us 2 and The Last Jedi, or is it for like Devil May Cry 2 reasons? Where this is like an unredeemable thing and you don't know how it happened.
Oh, is it bad? Devil May Cry 2?
Yeah.
I thought it was passable.
Whenever I look at Devil May Cry
I think
2 in any way, I'm like, this can't be real, right? This doesn't seem possible. Like
Devil May Cry.
As far as I can
confusing
tell,
the
Devil May
franchises.
Cry
Yeah.
2 is not even like quote unquote bad the way that like Mario 2, Zelda 2, and Castlevania 2 are, but like like genuine like shovelware bad. Like, how the fuck did this happen to this franchise? Capcom, how did this get greenlit? What the fuck? It's like, I don't know, maybe it was just a really strange creative endeavor type thing. I don't know, because like Devil May Cry itself only exists because like Resident Evil had an identity crisis. It's like they were making Resident Evil and they were making 4, and they're like, we're gonna change it up like crazy, because every now and then Resident Evil changes things up a bit. And with the 4 they eventually made was like a franchise-defining game, and is also the reason why the next 2 really bad games happened, because they took the wrong lessons from it and so on. But like, people to this day see 4 as like this masterpiece in the franchise, but it was like their second or third attempt at making 4, because their first attempt at making 4 became Devil May Cry because it was so divergent that it had to be a new franchise. So I don't know if they were doing something
Yeah.
really weird and that led to them accidentally making 2, but like, I don't know. It just, whenever I see footage of it, it reminds me of that time I played I liked the 3D Ninja Gaiden games, even though I never beat the first one because it was so fucking hard. And the second one I beat because it was relatively easy, but it was still like kind of challenging and fun. The third one though, I literally beat an entire level just kind of like mashing buttons and not looking at the screen.
Oof.
And like idiot Hayabusa
Wow.
would just like teleport to all the dudes and like chop their heads off, and I was like, I'm playing a video game. Like what? Like how the fucking like how the great have fallen when like fucking like I need to cover it one day and see how hard it actually is nowadays and see if I'd approach it differently or what. But like Ninja Gaiden 1, the 3D one, like the reboot Ninja Gaiden, that was like the
one
that
for
was
the
like Dark
360,
Souls
I think?
before Dark Souls. Like that was like holy
Yeah,
shit.
yeah, I remember.
Like a methodical, difficult, combat oriented sort of dark fantasy setting game. Like that was like that exact itch basically. I need to see how well it's aged and so on.
People definitely treat it as a sort of an elite kind of game for only real gamers play Ninja
It was
Gaiden.
fucking brutal. Like it was I was so demoralized by the motherfucker like the ninjas that have exploding shurikens. Like they hurt me. Like as a kid, I'm like I can't handle this. Like they're already
Oh, it's for the original Xbox.
Yeah, it's for the original Xbox.
Not the 360.
And I need to look into like there's like a black and a sigma, and it's one of those things where it's like because it's
Those are even harder, aren't they?
well, it's also like it's
remember
like it's
hearing
it's
that.
Capcom where they keep releasing like revisions of their games, like Monster Hunter and
Oh.
Street Fighter, and so there's always the question of like which one is like are they all actually better, or is one of them like a revision too far? Like I think there's like a bunch of different versions of Street Fighter, and people don't always agree that like the new one is like the good one, for example. And it's it's
I
complicated.
I get the impression that with the Ninja Gaiden, it might be like you trying to taste like dips for hot peppers and being like, this is super spicy, and then try another one. Oh, is this even more super spicy? Or because it's like it's a little bit. I don't know, because older games. I'm saying this because I've never played Ninja Gaiden apart from the SNES one on an emulator, and I couldn't do much. I'm not very good at these games, but older games, the difficulty approach to older games is that
the original
they
Ninja
ass-
Gaiden in 2D is like genuinely cruel.
Oh yeah.
yeah, because it was
There are
like older
there's
games
parts
used
of
to be
that
like
game
that.
where a monster spawns midway through your jump into you, and like because of how because enemies spawn on the edge of the screen, and the jump involves jumping off the edge of the screen, you like take unavoidable damage because the guy will come back, and because if you go backwards and then like if you like try to avoid him and go backwards and then try to jump again, the same guy will
You get
spawn
it.
at the same part of the jump, like because it's not like, oh, we spawned him and that's it. It's like, no, he will infinitely spawn midway through your jump every time. Like the fucking limitations of a side scroller crossed with just rude choices made in that game make it like cruel in a way that I'm not sure that the reboot was necessarily. But I gotta see it.
The original one. The original one was for the NES, so it was like easily 10 years before the height of difficulty for the sake of difficulty.
Yeah.
When I was a kid,
that was my first video game.
Oh,
Oh,
my
that's
God. I thought
rough.
it was the.
I
thought it was the. Sorry.
I had Ninja Gaiden and I had the Duck Hunt Mario combination cartridge.
Oh yeah, for.
Yeah, I had
I also
that.
think I had like the Olympics game where you use a pad that had 2 steps on it. It was like a 25 years earlier Wii balance board.
I've never seen that.
We're gonna make these kids exercise with their video games. The ambition of a generation.
It's weird. I think. Well, just to finish off the difficulty thing, I'm pretty sure games were just marketed in like not marketed, but they were made in a way that people just assumed or just new that kids didn't have many access to many games back then. So the longevity
They're meant
of
to just
of-
last forever.
I get the impression, right? Yeah, they would make the games
It's
be
like the
harder.
idea
Or
of if you don't die, you would beat the first Castlevania in like 45 minutes, I think. But you probably spend weeks trying to do that because you will just die. And Castlevania 1, you just start the game over if you die,
yeah,
Yeah.
which is like just insane.
and it's the same for the Sonic games. And
Well-
I don't know about the Marios.
And I mean, those early
do-
those early NES games were built with the intention of like quarter eating. Like they still had that mentality that
Even
you
though
build
they
a game.
couldn't
Oh,
take
yeah.
quarters.
Yeah, but you always build a game. Like even continues and stuff existed because of that concept of like, yeah, games have to have like
right, yeah.
a continue system, right? Because then when you run out, you start the game over, and you're like, what? Why would you do that? That sounds
Kids-
that sounds awful.
Kids these days don't know what a continue is.
I never want to see
Yeah.
it continue ever again.
Continues are.
I never
the
want
worst.
to. I never want to see a life system again where you like, even as late as Crash Bandicoot, which that was my first Patreon playthrough I had to do back in the day, and it was like, you die a few too many times, you just get kicked out to the loading screen, the start screen, and you get to load your save, and guess what? You can only save like every like 5 levels or something. So it's like, oh yeah, you're having trouble with level 4 or 5. You got to play all the other ones again. And like you're you're annoyed and you're kind of rushing it, and you're like, fuck, I lost lives that I need for the actually hard level, and it's just so stressful. It pisses you off.
I think in some games, especially like more puzzle-oriented games, not necessarily that they're just puzzle games, they could be fighting games, but I think in some games the life system is still a perfectly legitimate gameplay mechanic, but it has to have some measure of inherent pleasure in replaying a game, like going for a new run. Let's do it. Let's see how far I can get into this, or if I can beat it.
No,
Like, I remember-
I hate it. Like
I don't
when,
know
like
if
when we
you-
play Super
I-
Mario 3D World and it's just a bunch of levels on an overworld, I do not miss at all the fact that you don't have the ability to like get reset to the beginning of the whole world or whatever. Or in the case of
Wait, you
properly
don't-
Yeah, I don't
old-
think it works
Or in the
for
case
those
of
games,
properly
though.
old games, being reset to the beginning of the whole fucking game. Fuck that.
I'm under the impression that
No.
if you beat Dark Souls and it didn't start over all the way to the beginning every time you died, did you really beat Dark Souls? Or did you
That's
just
the thing, is like even the infamously like punishing Dark Souls doesn't even begin to do what actual games all did back then. And people will be like, kids these days at me when they see me as the ignorant, stupid Let's Player and whatever, and they want to be hurtful. And I'm like, bitch, I grew up with those. Don't kids these days me. I grew up with Ninja Gaiden and shit. There's no upside. It's just bad. It's just like
Yeah,
desperate attempts to stretch your game forever. It's like there are infinite games now. There is no need for that. You buy a fucking charity bundle and it's
Yeah.
like, here's 500 video games for $10. You'll never play them. You'll literally never run out.
You'll never play. Humblebundle.com. Everybody should check it out,
Yeah.
because
No,
some people don't know that it exists.
You make it through like one Humble Bundle or one Steam sale.
you're set for-
And suddenly you're like, well, that's a backlog I'll never actually finish.
Ooh, Sakura series is on discount. Nice.
Then you're like, well,
moving
fuck
on.
me.
I was thinking of a game that I played on a Saturn, and I don't know if it was a very famous game, because somebody gave it to me for free. And I was like, okay, thanks. And I had fun with it, but it was called Blast Chamber. And it was a series of 3D puzzles, effectively, where you competed against 4 or 3 other little dudes. And basically, you had to carry a bomb to... I think I might be misremembering the exact details, but you had to carry a bomb to an objective, and it was sort of a labyrinthine level where you could rotate the level and use gravity that way, and there was a bunch of mechanics, and it was really a puzzle game at the end of the day. But it was also time-based, and you were against the AI, so they could like steal the bomb from you or push you off, and you could do the same to them. I thought it was I probably was 13 at the time or something. I thought it was a very interesting game, but it was a game where there were 100 levels. I never beat it, I don't think. I think I reached level 98 or something. There were 100 levels, and you could... I don't remember exactly how it was, but you could only die 5 times, I think. And every time you died, you reset to the last fifth level. So basically, you died at level 98, you went back to level 95, or you died at 93, you went to 90. Get me? So it was basically how that worked, and the 5 lives were really oppressive because you lost them early on. You'd be like, oh no! But so there was an aspect of memorization, remembering what the puzzles were, and then you lost those lives. That was it. You had to restart. And I thought the game worked really well. I thought it was an interesting mechanic because it was very frenetic, and it was designed around somebody. Like the setting was about prisoners that were sentenced to die, and they had to carry these bombs, and it was like a TV show dystopic sort of thing, and he had to carry these bombs, and only one of them out of the thousands of people who would go into these cubes, only one of them would come out alive, the one at the end, which in my games it was never anybody because I never saw the last level. But it was
that's the real truth. That's what actually happens.
Yeah, exactly. But I thought that game was really good because it was so frenetic. It was like the life system was.
Makes me think.
That's what added the difficulty.
Makes me think about how, like, when I played Fighting Force with Andrew, I think it's probably the first time I ever actually beat Fighting Force. I think that game also had a life system, and it was a beat 'em up, and it's really, I think, if I remember correctly, it's fucking hard. Like, it's a nightmare. It's the part where you're like on an elevator and everyone has a rocket launcher, and you're like, why is this happening to me?
Yeah, that final boss was also really tough. We were pretty close to losing there, or you were, I guess, because I wasn't playing.
Were you just dead at that point? I don't remember.
Yeah, I was already dead.
Yeah, because that was a co-op game. That was like the whole appeal. God, it's just old style life systems are just like playing a roguelike, but nothing changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, wow, what an upgrade. I love it.
It does feel slightly unnecessary too in some games where you're like, why did you even do this? What was like the goal? Like, you have like Mega Man, for example, had the really good system of every time you start, here's a password. So that way when you ran out, like someone had some big dumb brain and said like it has to have lives. But then someone snuck in and went like, yeah, but we could just give them a password for the level. Yeah, just like they don't need to do that. That's really
there's
shitty.
Cheat books that just tell you the passwords.
Which is fine, and I don't really care. But what mattered to me as a kid was that when I lost in Mega Man, which I did a lot, I didn't have to start the fuck over. I was just like, all right, I could just put in the code, start where I was, go. Like,
and even as a kid, those were like oppressively hard games with passwords.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying is like they were, Mega Man's already a pretty hard game for a kid.
I don't think I've ever beaten a Mega Man.
Really?
Yeah. I think I had the one with I think I had the one with the flying boss as a kid. The one that doesn't have walls. It's like, oh my god, a giant scrolling boss chamber. This would be a subversive element of this franchise if I had played them before and knew that this was new and different. Because it's always like you do the freeze frame walking through the door twice, because like you go into the hallway, then out of the hallway, and then you're in the boss chamber, and then you're stuck in a single screen with the boss. But that one has like you fight like a bird or a plane oriented guy, and it's like a big scrolling area with no walls. You can fall off the airship and die, I think. And I think that's the one I had. I don't remember if it's 8 or X.
I think that's X.
Yeah,
I think X is the one that introduces the bird.
Yeah, because I think when I watched the sequelitis, I'm like, I recognize this weird bee helicopter in the intro.
The bee helicopter?
I remember it. Isn't he just a bee? Am I? Isn't he?
I mean, yeah, he is just a bee, but
he's just a bee.
But,
just a bee-shaped helicopter. Like, I don't know why, but he is. I don't question the Mega Man universe. I've always preferred melee over guns, so I always played like Castlevania instead of Mega Man and Metroid. Like having
That's why I always play Mario.
Well, Mario is not melee; he's jumping. You don't have a hammer.
That's the truest melee. He has no weapons, only
the
feet.
real melee.
Melee for adults.
It's got to be really difficult. Like, not only have to you have to jump very high above all the enemies, and of course Mario jumps very high. But then you have to control your fall, and you take about as much punishment as your enemy. Because if you think about it, if you do enough damage to like basically the force has an equal reaction, right? You're basically being hit in the legs from below by the enemy that's coming up at you, as you fall on top of it, and that's gotta hurt, especially turtles. If I fell on a turtle, I would die more than the turtle would die.
I would die if I fell on a turtle.
I think I would. Those things are hard. It's like cement.
I think you're overestimating turtles.
Yeah, I don't think you would be hurt. I think you would probably fall over. I think turtle shells are probably not the most stable things to land on, but I don't think you would hurt yourself. I think you'd just be like, "Whoa, that was a tough landing," but.
I'm just saying, have you seen how high Mario jumps? That's like 3 or 4 stories high sometimes. Is it? What is the...
No, he's not jumping 4 stories.
No. Well, it depends.
Let me look at it.
I think you should probably judge, if you're doing like game theory math about his height, you should probably base it on his not small version of himself, at least.
Oh.
Because he jumps really high compared to the small version of himself, but I don't think that's supposed to be the normal one, because that thing's a deformed little nightmare.
Okay, so maybe he just only jumps 2 meters,
like
which is
80%
just Olympic
head.
level of 80%.
I mean, he's jumping. He's jumping pretty high for a plumber, but he's not like.
And he's probably jumping higher than anyone has ever jumped.
That's not true.
But still not 4 stories, I don't think.
No, I think he probably jumps only like 2 or 3 meters at most. But I think, what is the world record for height jump? I don't even know what it's called. I think it is around 2 or 3 meters. Let's see. Tall jump? What is it called?
Standing high jump? Or
standing? Well, it's running jump. That's the one. No, that's
the running is a long
jump.
I think it's a standing high jump.
I think it's a standing high jump, which is 1.70 meters.
Only? Oh, but the standing. But they have like this record where they run into a little
You're talking about the
platform and then
the run and jump.
Yeah, it's like a running jump, but it's about how high you get. It's basically the same as the standing one. The standing one is really difficult. I've seen them do that. And
You're talking about like long jump?
No, it isn't it's basically like the standing jump, except they have a run.
Silver.
Have you never seen that?
I feel like you're talking about weird filler pedantic things in Olympics where they run out of shit to show you, so they have to make up fake stuff to do. Like that sounds like one of those. Like
being on Twitter lately, it has been funny seeing a trend of people just describing weird sports they're seeing on the Olympics that they don't understand.
The Olympics used to be pretty understandable, and then all of a sudden it started having like offshoots and offshoots and offshoots of offshoots, but combinations of 2 offshoots. And I'm like, what are you doing? Stop! Wasn't this just like an hour event so people could just have an excuse to be active for a day? Like, what the hell happened?
Like, I think I saw one that was people. They were saying that I turned on the Olympics at random, and there seems to be a bunch of people run. There seems to be a bunch of men just running single file. I don't understand. Like not like a normal race, but like something else is happening. Like they're weirdly like they're lined up for some reason and they're running in a circle or something.
They're doing the slipstreaming. If it's like endurance racing, then
streaming. What?
Yeah, you don't run like in bicycles. Yeah. If you like a marathon and stuff, you group up in a way that allows you to save.
So they're just like energy. NASCARing. It's about running forever.
Yeah. They're NASCARing. Yeah, absolutely.
I have never watched the Olympics, and I probably never will.
Yeah, I don't know.
I found out the name of the thing. It's the running vertical jump.
That's.
And I'm trying.
That sounds like a made up name. That sounds like a made up ass name. Running vertical jump. This is fucking call it.
Look it up
jump.
on YouTube. It's super. It's. I think the highest ever on YouTube. It says 52 inches, which is probably like a meter.
Is there?
Oh, that's different.
Is there like an entire Punnett square of like standing, running, high, long jump? Like all 4 combinations exist somewhere in the Olympics. You just gotta tune in at the right time for what specific niche jump someone's good at.
Okay, so
I think
there's the high jump, long jump, pole vault, and triple jump are the only 4 jumps that are real jumps, as acknowledged by
Every
the
other jump, fake.
every
fake.
other jump is not categorized as an Olympic sport, so they
Okay,
are
thank you.
not real jumps.
That pole vault leads to
there
some
you go.
terrifying injuries. It's a
I
scary
bet it
jump.
does.
Triple jump sounds kind of like someone's
It's like
pushing the
Mario.
limits here. Yeah, the objective is to leap horizontally as far as possible in a series of 3 jumps, which, yeah, definitely. When was that added? Because that sounds like
it's
something
great.
got
Oh,
added.
it's been a while.
It's great.
I did that when
because
I was
it
in
sounds
school.
like, because as far as I can tell, the takeaway there is that Mario's 3 jump loops, like based on real science, it actually makes you go further
No.
if you jump a third time.
Yeah, so
It's
apparently
triple jump off the ground, not off the air.
no, but so that's the thing.
Mario
is
doesn't
that-
air jump. It's that if you jump 3 times in a row, as 3D
Oh, really?
Mario,
Yeah.
his third jump is way higher.
Oh, that's cool.
Which-
He does
That
like he
is
does like
indeed,
flips
yeah.
and shit.
And you
That's
know
the whole
what?
idea. I didn't
know that.
Unfortunately,
Thing.
so unfortunately, the triple jump was added in Mario 64, which came out in 1998. The triple jump was added
Yeah.
to the Olympics in 1995. So Mario copied the Olympics.
you mean
I
reality?
learned triple jump. I learned triple jump when I was in high school. So by 98 or 99, I was doing triple jump in PE.
Are you
So-
Mario?
I'm Mario. Secretly, I have the mustache.
Yeah, apparently
And the beard.
the first time it was in the Olympics was in Oh no, it says it was in there in modern times in 1896, but I don't see.
You know, back in the 19th century, they messed around with things a lot.
I'm going
They
to
had the chest jump.
I'm going to argue that
And
this
they-
wasn't a thing. I think someone just randomly jumped weird once in the Olympics back in the day, and someone was like, "Well, that was weird. It was like 3 jumps."
Medals,
But
medals to that person.
Medals.
No, they tried to do things a lot. There was the walnut archery and the sleeping triathlon. It's just like big madness.
You say
in
the
the
slipping
1900s.
triathlon?
Yeah, it's like
What?
they slept and slipped. It's the madness.
Sleeping,
Just- I
sleeping, or
promise you, it's
slipping, or sleeping, or slipping.
both of them. That's why it's a triathlon.
I like this sentence, by the way, which is an awful sentence, which is the triple jump was inspired by the ancient Olympic Games and has been a modern Olympics event since the game's inception. What?
What?
What the fuck?
doesn't make-
Wow.
What do
Since
you-
the modern Olympics?
whose game's inception? Because it didn't. Because I can
Yes.
tell you the ancient Olympics didn't exist in 1896. Like, what?
Modern Olympic Games. Let me look up
Well,
on
aren't
Wikipedia.
aren't the original Olympics like thousands of years old or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, but,
They
but
didn't-
you
they
need to
didn't
consider the
stop.
revival. Greek
think
interest in
they might have
reviving the Olympic
stopped.
Games began with the Greek War of Independence. I think they had a lot of free time, so they did gymnastics on the side besides the war. And then, and this was in 1870 and 1875, that's when they hosted the revived Olympics. Because obviously, you know, they're very old, but they didn't happen for millennia.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's
is
like
I don't
saying-
think there was a continuity from beginning to end, which is why the other
Yeah.
thing talked about the revived Olympics
Yeah, yeah.
or the
So
modern
I'm saying
Olympics.
Egypt is a very old country, but
Yeah.
it's not the same country.
Because there's not really any. Basically, it cuts off at 393. They said like after that, they we find some proof they continue doing Olympics, but no one wrote about it, so we don't know.
Some-
Which is like
Just some blokes just jumping off of some things.
No one wrote
Nobody
about it.
paying attention.
though like to its credit, Olympic events were basically just kind of something to do on the weekend. Like they weren't the overly produced shitty festivals that you see now. They were just like, hey, let's do some fun stuff outside, because what else do you do in a fucking 300 time period? It's either watch cows, watch grass, watch men in
Excuse
very
me.
short clothing doing Olympic
not cows.
events.
Not cows. Goats.
Did
We're
they not have
talking
cows?
Antiquity. They did, but they chose not to herd them. It was all goats. You've seen the movies. It's always a goat and a sheep. Every once in a while, they couldn't
You've
distinguish them
seen
very
the
well.
movies. That's a weird.
Right?
That's a weird claim for you to make of all people.
Where does
You know,
Yeah, because I haven't.
the universally established movie language of how this is movied. Me, from the movie
Yeah.
watcher, the guy who watches movies.
Once, every once in a while.
I saw a movie once. I didn't like it. Never went back. That was my one.
it was?
Speaking of which,
now
I
I'm
hear
curious to like who started this whole shitty mess. Like who was the asshole behind creating the Olympics again? And
it's the Greeks.
no,
the
it
War of
was-
Independence.
It was the British.
Was it? Oh, it probably was.
The
Actually.
Brit, yeah, during the 17th
You look
century.
deep enough into anything, the Brits will always come up, and it's just no, it's actually their fault a little.
At an annual meeting near Chippinghampton. All right, that's a Chipping. Is that a name of a city? Okay, sure, whatever, guys. It was organized by a lawyer in 1612. Wow, what
A
a.
lot of things are organized by lawyers, to be fair.
And he is quite ugly, if you're curious. His
Wow.
mustache is bigger than his face.
Just gonna
his
go
entire
at
head.
him, huh?
Yes,
God.
this man has dressed well, but he did not. He stopped at the neck. That's where
Andrew
he
just
stopped
woke
caring
up
for
today
himself.
wanting to end a man.
I think he ended himself. You can't
It's probably-
trust.
this is old stuff, so he probably is already. Yeah.
No, he's. I think he's still alive right now.
Wait, who are we talking about? I thought it was the person who revived the Olympics.
I don't think you
I
get to.
believe so. Yeah, I think it's joking.
I don't think you get to live or die when you become a lawyer. I think you're stuck in purgatory forever.
Oh, that's
How come
why.
I can't go back? I don't know. Wait, he literally wiped himself off the face of Wikipedia. I can't see him anymore.
It's
okay,
gone.
There he is. Okay, yeah, that was
If
it.
you
and
right click
then-
on your backwards button, you can actually see the history. It's a little shortcut.
Yeah, and
Instead of left
it took me back to the picture.
Mhm.
That's why I was like, oh, I can't get back to the article. Yeah, apparently after that, the British were like, that was stupid, and then they never did it again. And then the French tried it in 1796, and then they also said that was stupid, and so they didn't do it again.
Do not get your history lessons from this podcast.
And then finally, it was
No, don't do that.
in 1834, Sweden decided we'll do it. And then it worked. And then we did it again forever. So
Oh, was it 1834? It's actually earlier than.
in
what I was
1834 and 1836, the Olympic Games were held in Stockholm, Sweden. And after that, it started becoming consistent.
Trying to have a syndrome about it.
Because so after 1836, it was happening again in 1850, which is probably because, I don't know, money.
Wars, probably. You know
Yeah.
how it goes.
Also, not very good turnout. Only 2,500 spectators saw the games, probably because Sweden
Of the
wasn't.
wars, everybody was dead.
Sweden wasn't an easy place to just, swim to.
Sweden is mainland.
Yeah, how
What are you
are
talking
the
about?
U.S. gonna get there?
Oh, the U.S. You probably didn't even hear
How
about
is
it.
like the majority of the planet getting there? Because it's, I mean, well, I guess technically Africa and Asia can walk, but like Japan can't
It's-
get there, and the rest of the Pacific Islands can't get there.
They had
Like,
boats. They
you
had
ain't-
boats.
You are not going to take a boat to go watch Olympic Games in Sweden. That's a terrible waste
it's
of
all
money.
Swedes. It's probably all Swedes.
You also don't
And
even
the-
speak
and
the
the-
language. What are you going to do? You're going to show up and be like Swedish game or like Olympic Games and be like, what?
That's fair.
Anyways,
I don't understand what we're talking about anymore.
No, it's called a tangent. We don't. Nobody does.
Anyway, the Olympic Games are not real. They're just shams. They're someone walking around with a corpse in their hands trying to make you think it is something it's not. Don't fall for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the movie industry.
The Olympic Games died with the Greece, Keith. And when they died,
the
so
Greece?
did the Olympic Games.
Greece is still around. It ends up on the pan every day.
No.
Oh, that Grease. I get it. Puns because of the. Mm-hmm.
Also, your favorite actor, John Travolta.
It's called Grace. The E is silent.
Grace.
Oh boy.
What if you just find out after all these years the movie Grease is pronounced differently? You've been saying it
there's a
wrong
movie
your
called
whole
Grease?
life. Yeah.
It's like that time I found out there was a band called Portugal, and they had never been to Portugal.
Uh-oh, I've made a terrible mistake. How do
Why
I
did they
fix
do
this?
What'd you do?
I'm typing in Russian. There we go.
Oh, I thought you broke your recording. The only thing that could possibly matter to me.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Typing in Russian is one of those problems.
I realized I typed in a phrase, and I looked at it, and I was like, that looks like spaghetti. Someone wrote spaghetti on my search bar, and then I looked down, I was like, oh, it's in Russian.
Russian is so it's one of the eviler languages to encounter when you're Let's playing in text form, because you're like, it looks almost like words you could try to pronounce, but every word you think you recognize is a lie, or every letter you think you recognize is actually definitely not the letter you think it is. It's all a prank.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, that
think
P is actually a V or whatever the fuck.
It's an R. You don't know the P? That's the most famous
No,
one.
I don't know any of it. I was just saying random things.
Oh, okay.
I think
I see.
I think A is my favorite because it's just it's just a big butt holding a stick in between it.
What?
Wait, that's the A?
Yeah,
Oh, that's the A. That's right.
look at all those butts holding a stick in between them. They're beautiful.
Oh, like what is that? A sigma? Or no, sigma's triangle.
That's not sigma.
The D. The D is
that
pretty
omega?
No, that's not omega.
What are we talking about here?
That's EF.
It's an egg on a stick.
Well, it's EF. Or FE. It's F.
No, Effie's later tonight on Final Fantasy.
No.
I like knowing a little bit of Cyrillic, and to my surprise, every time I try to read it, and sometimes I actually get it right, I've never got comments of people. I got a lot of Russian viewers, but and I never get comments of people being like, "Oh, you dumb! You don't even know that a reverse N is actually an E or something, or whatever."
Why would you ever know that?
Because I don't know all the letters, but I do know.
Why don't you know random
words...
minutia of my language? I've inflicted upon you the idea that you have to know this for some reason.
But that's the thing. That never happens. It's totally fine. Everybody's very chill, and they come and say explain what they say, the Chicky Briki and Stalker and stuff like that. It's all very nice people.
Chicky Briki.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's weird.
Just
Stalker.
That's what happens when you talk. You can there's a button you can just press to talk in Stalker, and sometimes it'll be like Chicky Briki, and you're like, what?
It's funny because it takes place in Ukraine, but they speak Russian instead of Ukrainian.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I think that's not an accident.
Market related. It's just so they can sell to Russia properly, right?
Well, that's because Russia thinks that Ukraine is part of Russia.
I don't know that that's the reason, though. Maybe because maybe I'm wrong, and maybe they do speak Russian in Ukraine. I thought
Ukraine.
They do. They I mean, they're dual.
They probably do.
They
Yeah.
speak Ukraine, or not Ukraine. They speak. Shit,
I said Ukraine, didn't I? Country names are complicated.
What is it? They Damn it! What is
They're
the
Ukrainian?
language?
Yeah, there's. The language.
it is
Official
Ukrainian.
language, Ukrainian. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, they speak both Ukrainian and Russian. Depends on what part of
probably do.
Ukraine you're in.
Mm-hmm.
Just reminds me of playing
Ukrainian.
old Call of Duty 2, and it always stood out to me so much. But even before I knew German, that just all the time you'd hear them yell "Erdgeschoss." Only probably 2 years later, I finally learned that it means ground floor. So they're saying where they think I am. So it's like the AI reflecting that they know where I am currently in the building, because it's your enemies that are saying that.
I like
Also,
that. It's,
I can't believe
but
you don't know what that symbol is, Keith. We played Virtue's Last Reward. That's Phi.
It is.
Come
it is
on.
a Phi. I thought it was something that
Oh
familiar.
yeah, Phi is.
I did guess
Phi is
Sigma for a
Greek.
second there, because we did play, because he's the other character in the same game.
Yeah.
Then
I
I'm
think it
like,
has a
wait a
different
minute.
name in.
Wait, actually, oh wait, I'm wrong again. I thought that the reason that Sigma wasn't what I thought it was because the triangle, but the triangle's delta. I'm just a train wreck.
The delta is Greek again.
How,
You're
how
mixing it up
dare you,
'cause
Keith, not remember a dead language?
Well, delta comes up in math a
No.
lot. That's important.
Greek is not
Like
dead.
delta V or whatever.
They write in the, yeah, they do, and the phi as well. The phi is for the diameter. It's used as a diameter or a section. No, section. Yes, I think.
That's not what Greek looks like. I thought Greek looks like it looks different.
No. What from the delta? Yeah, delta is a Greek letter.
Yeah, but I thought like modern Greek looks different than ancient Greek.
Oh, yeah, probably a little.
I don't know. I don't write either of the languages. I just thought the symbols got a little bit of an update.
No, they probably did because that always happens.
Wait, they use the pi symbol?
Uppercase and lowercase.
Well, that would be confusing
both-
nowadays. If you brought a Greek from back in the day, they'd be like, "Why is there so many of our symbols hanging out here with numbers? What a bunch of nerds!"
I mean, that's you know, we use English letters in math too, right?
Well, yeah, but they wouldn't
That's
know
like
what those
the part.
are.
That's the part you gave
They
up
would just
at.
be like, well, yeah, because that's not math. Math ends.
I like the idea that you would bring the Greeks to the modern world, like the ancient Greeks, and of all the things in our world that they'd be confused by, it'd be the part where they see some math, some of their letters are in there.
Yeah, because they would be
As
like,
if they
wait,
didn't have any of them in their math.
did
yeah,
they
exactly.
not?
The reason why they're
But
in
it's
math,
not like
the reason why
they're not
they're
going to be confused by like visual novels or anything.
or computers.
It's going
television.
to be the math that has their letters in it.
I don't know, man.
The-
Don't those symbols
because the
mean
reason-
something?
What a world to be alive in.
The reason they're in maths is because it's from Greek mathematicians. A lot of the newer concepts are all normal Latin letters because they're just a lot later, like E or C or stuff like that.
Why would you put it in Latin?
E is a Latin letter.
But I'm saying if newer mathematical discoveries have Latin, why would you pick a dead language? They didn't invent that math.
What
Wouldn't
do you
you-
mean that language?
Why would you use
I don't
Latin
know what the
characters?
fucking hell he's dying on at this point.
We use
What
the
is this?
Latin
I'm
alphabet.
not sure what this
English
conversation
and
is.
Portuguese and
Oh, I thought you were saying that they were like they were using like Latin words to like
Oh,
for
no,
math.
it's
And I'm
just
like, why
letters,
would you use
No, it's not
Doesn't make sense.
taxonomy.
oh
no, yeah, it's
that's all I thought.
not letters, not words, just letters. I understand the confusion though.
It's my
It also doesn't help
Vici
that we call
algorithm.
the letters and the language Latin. It'd be really helpful if we just used our Latin to create a new word for that.
Well, it's just it's the Latin alphabet or the Roman. I say Latin, but I think Roman alphabet might be more common in English. But it's like the
Yeah, maybe.
Arabic
I don't think it's
numerals.
called Latin.
Yeah, it might be Roman. Roman, definitely Roman. Yeah, I'm thinking to the encoding things. It's Roman. So it's like the Arabic numerals. That's the numbers we use. It's the Arabic numerals because the Roman numerals are completely different.
Yep, they're annoying.
I came to a. Oh, this might be a little bit out of the scope of our podcast here, but I came to a
I
realization.
mean, we're taking on our entire language. I don't know what else could be outside the scope.
I do
Okay,
like.
okay, so bear with
sorry,
me.
Go for it.
Bear with me. Do you know how we read from left to right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait,
A
you
while
do
back-
that? That's weird. That's not normal.
You don't read up
A
to
while
down.
back.
Yeah.
A while back, I was thinking about stuff that is used from other languages that do not read from left to right, like Arabic, that reads from right to left. And the numbers in Arabic are written exactly the same as the numbers that we write. So 1984 is 1984 in Arabic.
Not
And it's the same.
exactly.
No, when I'm not when I say numbers, I mean the numerals, not obviously not if you write them all out.
Well, I meant like their 6 looks like a 7, and their 8 is a V. Like they kind of
In Arabic? No.
Yeah,
Are you
Arabic.
sure?
Are you talking about Arabic numbers? Yeah, Arabic numbers are like
Yeah, they use-
0 is just a dot, which okay makes sense. 1 is a 1, 2 is a 1 with a little bracket at the end, and then 3 is a 1 with 2 brackets at the end. And then they gave up and were like, we can't keep doing this forever. And so 4 is a backwards E, and then 5 is like a circle, and then 6 is a 7. 7 is
I
a
think-
V. 8 is an upside down V, and 9 is a 9.
Maybe I'm I'm confusing something here. But I just as a quick and just going back to what I was looking into, I looked 1984 as an example on Wikipedia, and then I went to the Arabic, so ar.wikipedia.org/Wikipedia/1984, and you see the numbers all throughout the page, and they're all 1984. So they don't write 9,891. Do you know what I mean? That's basically the gist of my argument here. There might be something more that you're referencing, but I don't know about those special numbers. But what I do know is that the way we read our numbers comes from the way that famous Arab mathematician from all those years ago had a book that basically came into Europe, and everybody was like, "Oh, look at all these maths! He was really smart. Let's study this." It's basically how it
History.
works. So what I was thinking was that, wait a minute, we start reading a number 1984 from left to right, but in our head we look at the number and we see immediately what it is, right? We look at a number, we don't need to read it out loud, or generally I don't need to read it out loud, small numbers specifically. We just look at it and we see, oh, it's 1984 or 23 or something, but we appreciate the number from left to right. But it doesn't make sense for Arabic readers to do that. And I'm thinking that we have our numbers in an order. Do you know how the zeros to the left don't count to anything? I think we have our numbers in an order from left to right that doesn't actually make sense for the original way they were created. The reading them left to right. And I was thinking this in conjunction with reading binary, just looking at ones and zeros, and thinking about how I personally like to read binary, which is from right to left. And I'm thinking,
My favorite way to read binary is never.
Never. But I'm thinking, what I think is our numbers
what kind of
are
like
actually supposed to be...
flagellation is that? Like, I would just like to be worse off
it
today.
was just a thought experiment.
Let's
It was just a
read
thought experiment.
binary.
But my conclusion was that, and I ask any Arabic people who know Arabic in the comments to let me know about this, because I have some people that I can ask directly, but it's nice if it's in the comments because it's easier for us.
Also, let me know if his pronunciation is a real one or a kernelization. I don't know.
Of Arabic?
Yeah.
Or Arabic?
I have
Yeah,
no
I'm
idea.
sorry.
I've never heard it before,
Arabic.
but I'm like, it's one of those times where I'm like, I don't know, it could be real.
It probably isn't.
He's saying it a
never
lot
is.
confidently, so maybe he knows better than me.
No, definitely don't. It's Arabic, I think. But yeah, what I'm saying is our numbers are supposed to be read right to left. That's my conclusion. That's why I went in this roundabout way of explaining it, but and I don't know if I did a good job of it, but that's how you get kicked out of a party, is you start to tell this story.
You tell a 10-minute story about how you think numbers might be backwards.
Yeah, exactly. Our numbers are backwards. And I think it is.
I like how the story ends
think
with you not being sure.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah, that's the thing. But think about it. When you see a number, it's like, have you ever seen? Do people I tell you my phone number and I start. If I say the numbers 9, 1, 6, 5, and you can write them down, it's easy for you, right? But some people, at least here in Portugal, I think, like in France, it's always like this, but it depends on the language. But some people say like 9, 1, 23, 50, 71. Do people do this in the US? Do you know the pain that I'm about to describe? What I like to do...
There's specific cadences where it makes sense to say the numbers as if they are a 2-digit number, but it's usually like the pairs that are in like an even thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
I get that
depends
impression.
on. Yeah, it would depend on like.
Like there's a 3-digit opening number and maybe another one if you include the area code, And then after that, you
Yeah.
might say that the last 4 numbers as 2 pairs if you feel like it.
Yeah.
But it's also just as common or likely to not do that.
It
But if you're a
seems-
real
yeah, it would
asshole and you're
always-
leaving a message on your messaging machine, and it's like, oh yeah, call me back at blah 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 blah, and at one point they'll be like, yeah, call me back at 9. Like they'll wait,
Yeah,
they'll wait
exactly.
too long, and you'll write down
That's what
the
I'm
other
saying.
number.
Or
You're like,
17.
fuck.
1. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm referring. So basically, you got it, Keith. You got it. That's what I'm saying. If you think about it, the numbers to the left are, if you see a number that starts with a 1, you don't actually know what that 1 means. It could be just 1, or it could be 10, which is an order of magnitude higher. It could be 1,000,000. It doesn't have as
Well,
much meaning as if you read it from the right.
But if you
because
say
you always know
1,
that it's a 4.
But if you say 1, it's only a 1. You
No, I'm
can't.
talking
You can't
about
say like
reading- yeah,
110, and they're like,
Exactly,
what?
exactly. But I'm talking about reading a number with the numbers. Like if you look at it from left to right, it doesn't tell you too much. You can only know if it's 1,000 or 1,000,000 after you process the rest of the information. And so, if you read it the other way around,
Wait, isn't that the same problem you have no matter which direction you read?
Yeah,
Because
No,
if
no,
you
no,
just
no.
see-
how they're
if you just if you see like
no.
96 and you go like, okay, so 96.
I'm also a little
and then you
confused
keep
by the
going and you're like,
idea of-
oh, it's 7, 8, 9, and then there's a comma. Like, isn't that more confusing when you're?
I don't think it is.
I'm confused by this universe where you're reading numbers by like holding a piece of cardboard over it and slowly sliding it one way or the other. It's like, you know how big a number is because of how big it is, like physically how much space it takes up on the paper. You're like, oh, it's a lot of digits. That's how big. That's how
But
you know
for
how
big
many it
numbers-
is. You can't read from
but
left
for
or
big
right
numbers-
to better understand how many digits there are. It's just how many digits there are.
Yeah, but for big numbers, that's not as easy though. And I ask you, the next time you have difficulty,
That's why we have
judging a
that's
big
why we have
number, 'cause-
commas.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. But
And like you
if
always
think
judge how big
without-
something is by checking how many digits it has, because that has more
But that's
effect
what I'm
on
saying.
that has more effect on the size of the number than any of the actual values in the slots. So it's not about
Hey,
reading
that's
it
what
from
I'm
left to
saying.
right or right to left. You just count how many digits there are, and that's how big the number is.
If you read from right to left, you immediately count all the digits, and you also know all
That-
the details about the number
That's
and
not
on the
true.
way.
How do your eyes
Nothing
work?
about
Do you not-
nothing about reading right to left instead of left to right makes you count the digits better. It's just you just need
It
to know
does.
the number of digits in total either way.
Think
I
of
don't-
1984. Think of
Okay.
1984 and read it
Well,
from right to left.
1984
You
is a
have
word.
4.
Is a number that's so small you see it like instantly.
For
because
sure.
that's
For-
how
yeah.
we read.
I'm just
because
using
that's
it-
how we read words. Is
I'm
any,
just using
any
it as an
smaller word
example.
you don't actually like read left to right. You just see the word in its entirety all at once.
I know, and this is absolutely true. That's why I said that for big numbers this works better. But this is just an example. Think of 1984, and you read it from right to left. So you have 4, and it is 4. You know, it's a 4, and you have 80, and you have 900, and you have 1,000. And so you know that if you had more, you would have like 20,000 if you had a 2 before, not after. But you know what I mean? Like, if you read it from right to left, you can then add up all these numbers and you have access to them immediately as you read them. If you read it from left to right, you need to know that there's a 1, but you don't know if it's 1,000 or if it's... of course you do, because it's 1984, but if it's a big number, it doesn't work. But you know what I mean?
This makes
It's
absolutely
I'm
no
like-
sense
imagining,
to me.
I'm imagining like the worst possible outcome here is that people
What is
provide
this
phone numbers
system where
in
you're like quizzing your progress at reading a number midway through to be like, I don't know, what's it gonna be? Let's review
of-
the clues
think
so
like a-
far. Maybe it was the candlestick in the fire in the hearth room.
Think like a computer,
Maybe
though.
that's what
Think
killed
like a
Colonel
computer.
Mustard. But I mean the 1,000 digit.
But we can't think like a computer. That's why we have computers, because we're terrible at
think
thinking like
Arabic-
computers.
We don't want to think like computers. They're
I think Arabic
idiots.
people. I think Arabic people designed, or Arabic mathematicians designed the numbers to be thought in that way. Though is what I'm saying. They were
mean,
designed
It's
to
gonna be
thought-
really
to
funny
read
if you're
from right to
wrong
left.
about them even being in that order.
They
I might
could
be
be.
wrong. I might
Because
be
then,
wrong.
like the fucking the tile at the bottom of the Jenga tower is already out. Like, and none of this worked the whole time.
And at the end of the day, they could be wrong. There's nothing to say
No,
that
no,
they
no,
did
oh,
this
yeah.
correctly. Like they
For
could
sure.
absolutely have written a math. Like they could have
I just thought
written
you meant the
numbers in the
commenter
worst way
because
possible.
they just lie a lot.
No, but like I know France and Japan both say numbers in the worst way humanly possible. And
There's a
like
lot
people
that
just
do,
keep
yeah.
doing it, and no one just will sit there and acknowledge that this is not how you should say numbers to people.
80.
Like, could you
It's
imagine?
80.
Could you imagine saying a phone number to someone and like, okay, it's 213,533,8,224, and someone's like, what?
Oh, yeah.
What the fuck did you just say to me? Don't
Wait,
ever
yeah.
do that again. Like,
Something about French numbers is like fucked up, right?
yeah, you have to
But
say.
it's
You
not
have
the
to
phone
say like.
numbers. The
you
phone
have to
numbers
say-
are easy.
You have to say
The
like.
phone numbers are easy because they have a rule.
Well, yeah,
but yeah,
I mean, because God forbid if you have to say a fucking
course.
phone number, like.
Yeah. But go on. I think I know what you're
But
referring
yeah, no, yeah, it's
on.
like, it's I want to say that you have to say for the number, you have to say the 10th first, so you have to say like 40,002, and it's like, what? So it's like you have to.
What
it's,
is-
basically you have to say like there's different
What is
levels. There's like different words for each level of number. So
What I do know is that, for example, I
Right.
think I think that it might be the only example. 80, they say 80, which means 4 20s, and there's a lot of European. There's exactly. That's actually. I didn't think about it like that.
so yeah, so
Wow.
like so so in
the French are lit.
Yeah,
French are lit.
in French,
Deleting this
like
podcast.
100 is cent, but 101 is cent on. Like,
Cent
why
on,
would you
yeah,
do
yeah.
that?
Yeah, that's like a lot of. That's like Portuguese actually.
I
And
feel
you
like I
have to-
heard,
find it.
I feel like
yeah, you
I
have to
heard
say
something
it
way
based on
weirder
the-
about their numbers before. This doesn't sound as weird.
Well, so
Yeah, it's not. I think it's Dutch that has the really weird numbers, and I think some versions
Well-
of German also has really weird numbers. Like,
and so it gets worse the bigger the number, like the more complicated the numbers are. So like, say 225 is 225,
200.
where 200 is 200.
I know
Oh,
that
okay,
German
what-
has,
how did
has
you-
the same weird problem as English, where for some reason we treat the teens as like a special kind of number that shouldn't follow the semantic pattern of the rest of the language.
yeah, the French has the same problem. Portuguese
Yeah.
does as well. I think
And
that
I
has
don't
to
know
do
why
with
that's the way it is.
our language tends to be base 12 rather than base 10, and it's why you look at the English numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Those are all different words, and then you get the 13, 14, and those are very similar. That's the base 12 base of our of our language, because we think in 12s. It's a much more natural way for humans to think, instead of thinking in 10s, which is more based off of the
So-
Arabic. I got it, pronunciation. Arabic numbers.
So how would
But
so?
even,
Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I was gonna move on. You can ask.
Oh, I was gonna say. So, for example, 80. How would you say 80 in a how you say 80 in a normal civilized world is 80? You say the number. Where in French it's 420s.
That's
20, yeah.
that's the weird.
And you're like-
right. Is that
And
the
you're like,
French?
what?
The French count in 20s. That's what's so
Yeah.
fucking weird about French. Yeah, that's the weird fucked up
But they
thing I
only do
heard.
it for the 80 and the 90.
No, it's- yeah,
I think
so- I
90
think they
is
do it more than
10.
that.
And so
Oh,
96 is 4/2016. Like,
Yeah,
No.
that was the weird
No.
shit. The
That's the
fucking
one. Thank you.
fucking cent un was like nothing. That didn't matter. But it's the weird 20s
but that's
shit
the one.
where they count in bizarre intervals and they keep going. And you're like,
But 60
oh god.
60 is normal, and 40s are normal.
Because 70 is 60/10.
Is it 60-10?
Yes.
Oh, it is. I forgot about that.
All of them are awful. All of them do this. Like the moment you get past the 20s, it becomes hell. You have to
Oh,
start
I
counting
forgot.
in like
I forgot.
It's awful, and like Japan does the exact same thing, and it's rude. I don't want to do that, and I don't want to say it like that, and I'm just not
Count-
going to pronounce your numbers correctly. I'm just going to tell
Count
you
your-
the numbers.
Count yourself lucky that we don't work in dozens, though, in dodecs,
But like,
which is the term for the base 12.
you can just be a human and say like on, and that's so much easier than it would be to saying like sent like what is it,
But that-
sent dicks on,
But
like
the-
sent dicks
but
on would have
Andrew-
to be what you say. Like awful. No, just say un
But
3
Andrew,
times.
that runs into the limitation of the numbers being supposedly read from right to left. or un or whatever, it's 111. But if you add another one, you completely change the meaning of the original ones. The numbers are supposed to be read from right to left, but in spoken speech, we give meaning to what they are. When we say 1,000, you're giving meaning to that. You don't start with one.
I have no idea what you're saying.
I bet there's like a
if you
genius
change the
mathematician
numbers,
in
it
the comments
completely
being
changes
like,
the
yes.
meaning, but it's somehow special in only one direction. But I don't know.
It's true though, like zero.
It's
if you
true
add a
that
zero to the end of a number,
if you change a number, it becomes a different number. Yes, that's how numbers work.
Yeah,
I
but
don't understand
so like,
how you're like
with
prioritizing it though. Like one direction matters more.
because it does. Like right? Am I wrong in this? Like if you
I
no
don't,
idea
I don't know.
what you
I
mean.
couldn't tell you. Yeah.
That's why I said that I don't know if this is within the scope of a podcast. This is like a minute physics kind of video style question.
He would have
I
been
need
done
to- I
10
need to-
minutes ago. And confused why it's happening on the physics channel.
Exactly. That's true. Actually,
It's
number
so,
file then.
So it is weird.
I need
It is
to-
weird
I need
that
to write the number file.
some
You're
people
gonna write
live
Brady
a-
our podcast question. Just send him our podcast.
Yes.
Just watch
Some-
this
some
whole
poor-
thing. It'll get to it. It gets good eventually.
Isn't
just-
it a great video title though? Our numbers are wrong actually, or you're supposed to read the numbers this way, and there's
It's a
arrows
very,
and people with
it's a
shocked
very
faces.
Veritasium Vsauce like video
or Visa,
title.
yeah, Veritasium. Absolutely, they're like millions of views.
In fact, I
need to
think
do that.
I think Veritasium just uploaded a video that's like your numbers are wrong or your math is wrong or something.
Oh, I didn't see it yet.
Oh
Oh yeah, the simplest math problem. Yeah.
Veritasium.
For me, Veritasium has the most amazing video.
Oh no,
on
it was
YouTube.
"You're not a visual learner: The biggest myth in education."
Oh,
was
that
the,
one is
that
pretty
was the
cool.
one that had that format of title.
I'm not.
Veritasium. Yeah, because it's basically a cultural
Go
perception
watch a
that there's
video and
such a
find
thing.
out. I never watched it.
I
I'm
feel
behind.
like you're
It's
lying
pretty
at that
interesting.
point. I'm very much a visual learner. If someone told me how to do something, I would stop paying attention and go do something else.
Well, but the thing is that doesn't mean you're a visual learner. It might just mean that the thing that you're learning might be better learned visually, and it doesn't have anything to do with you. It has to do with the thing that you're learning.
Every single
And the-
time
the
I go
video is
to a
about that.
tabletop night, they give they give a very long, detailed explanation of the rules, and I absorb none of it. And then I
Yeah.
panic, and then I try to play the game while it's happening, and it usually works out eventually. But boy, can I not just listen to somebody tell a whole game abstractly in like one go. Like, it's useless to me for tabletop. I always have
Yeah,
to
I
just be
don't-
like, and there's like, any questions? I'm like, I would have to know a lot more to even ask a question. And I'm just gonna
Yeah.
see how it goes.
Yeah, yeah, it has to be done visually. I have to be able to visualize. If I can't see what's being taught to me, then it's not going to be taught to me.
Nobody
It's just
show Marty
going-
this podcast.
Does Marty absorb information very well if it's just said?
He's the one explaining the games.
Oh, he's the one explaining.
While I'm pretending to understand him, and I'm like,
I don't think he doesn't watch. Otherwise,
you
he
never
wouldn't be friends
know.
with us anymore.
He shows up at random intervals, having consumed.
Having
me, the most-
consumed.
Yeah,
The most amazing video by Veritasium is the one where he says, "No one has measured the speed of light," and he explains how that is and why that is. Have you guys ever seen that?
That sounds kind of hard
Maybe.
to do. Can you
I've
like
seen
put
a
a tape
lot of
measure to
science
light?
videos.
Are you allowed to just like, and then just go like, I see. You're 10 inches long.
The way basically the gist very quickly is that the way we experimentally measure the speed of light is with mirrors. You shine a light into a mirror, you measure the time it takes the light to come back, and it's the two-way speed of light, and it's actually how it's defined. C is the average of two-way speed of light, and the video goes over that. But the one-way speed of light is what is impossible to measure because of, Einstein stuff. It's an amazing video.
Because
But what it
the
ends
light
up
has to bounce.
yeah,
in
yeah.
order
So
to measure it.
Yeah, it's complicated. If you watch the video, it's really good. But the just my point why I'm referring to it is that by the end of the video, I was rethinking what it means to be now. So you know how it takes like 10 minutes for the light to reach the sun, or for the sun's light to reach the earth. I think it's 13 minutes or something. Do you know that?
Something like that, yeah.
So when we think of if the sun went out now, we would only know in 13 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that video made me think that now doesn't exist until the light actually reaches us.
Now
because
doesn't
it's massive.
exist. I mean, that defines it as your eyes being the entirety of your existence, and you have other senses
Exactly.
beyond that, including your thoughts. Like your
not
vision does not define
Not just
consciousness.
eyes. Light is not just visual; it's everything. Light
How
is
the hell do you
influence
measure
everything.
that?
What do you mean measure?
How do you measure the speed of light from the sun to the earth?
Oh, you measure the distance, and then you know you
Yeah,
already know the speed of light.
Yeah, you figure out the speed
Yeah.
of light, and then you just calculate the distance, and be like, it takes how long?
Yeah, yeah.
Assuming we're right,
But-
because it'd be hard to
Yeah,
tell.
isn't this all based on assumption though? Like,
It's
is there
something we
actually
theoretically know,
little-
assuming that nothing weird has fucked up the numbers somehow. Like, there's a space cloud right there that, like, light takes a vacation in there for a year before it leaves the sun.
I feel
it's
like
a
this
little
is-
based on assumption, but it's a lot more well understood than even gravity is and stuff like that.
I guess we're gonna figure it out when the sun dies. Then we'll be like, we were wrong. Shit, we're actually like 10 minutes from the sun, not 8 minutes.
Yeah, the sun was actually a hologram the
Oopsie-daisies.
whole time. There
And-
was a squid in
and
the
the
middle of
video-
the universe.
And the video is specifically about that sort of dilemma because we don't know if light travels faster one way and slower the other. So it could be that we are instantly seeing what the sun, what the light coming from the sun. It's just that the light coming from the Earth to the sun takes twice as long because of that two-way speed of light measurement thing, and that's the premise of the video. So because it is possible to make all the calculations like that, it is absolutely legitimate, I think, to think of the now as what you actually have access to, because that's the limitations of, for example, the visible universe is like a barrier because the light is never gonna reach us from outside the visible universe, but that doesn't mean that things don't exist beyond the visible universe, right?
I think this sounds like a job for robots. Like, I don't think humans are the right people to figure out the speed of light.
We know the speed of light. It's easy. That's the easy bit.
No, we don't. We have an approximate theoretical idea of the
No,
speed of light.
Everything. No. I think the speed of light is set. That's the constant. It's everything else that we don't know. So, but when we say that, like for example, the meter is based off of the speed of light. It's the distance light travels in a vacuum in a certain amount of. It's in a certain amount of time. It's a meter, and so we always know the speed of light. It's c. Everything else is based off of that. It's kind of weird to think about it if you're
It
not
is
too.
exact by international agreement. Okay, well.
No. It's the other way.
When you phrase it that way.
Yeah,
It's
like
the
it
other way
doesn't.
around, though. It's like you're saying you don't know the. I don't know what would be something that we base our. I don't know. It's complicated, but like not knowing where you are. You always know where you are. You're right there. You just don't know where everything else is. It makes sense for us to say I don't know where I'm
philosophical.
Again,
Yeah, well, but
this is all the entire number for speed of light is all theoretical. There is no
It's
agreed
not.
upon
It's
answer.
C.
According
It's
to a
C.
theory of the special relativity, like it's a
Yes.
theory. It's a fucking theory.
well,
I mean,
But
that's
that's
not
what
what
theories
theory
are.
That's not what theory means.
Is it
That's
not?
what theories are. They're the way
theories
that
do
things
not
are explained.
mean the word. It's not used the same way as the word that people use.
Yeah.
In
it's not
normal
a
life.
hypothesis.
Yeah,
It's an actual explanative
Yeah,
theory.
But
But
isn't
when
but that,
people-
isn't
when
that
people-
only
when-
until
when-
someone else can propose a different theory to counter it?
No.
Yeah, but
that's,
it's not-
You
you
propose a
can't just get-
hypothesis.
but
when
if
people
you
say like,
make
"Oh,
a
I have a theory," when like in a mystery or something like that,
So-
what they mean is what scientists call a hypothesis, which is the idea at the
Yeah,
beginning you talk
but what
about, as
Andrew-
opposed to like a theory is like an incredibly rigorously tested thing.
Yeah, but what Andrew is asking is if somebody comes around and disproves Einstein's theory.
Yeah.
That is a valid question to ask. But
Yeah.
it's important to remember that you can never disprove a theory by disregarding its conclusions. You always
I'm not-
need to explain better
That's what I'm
things.
saying is like we could just not know that we're wrong about the the speed of light.
Yeah, but that's all
No, we do
science.
because this.
Yeah,
We do because
so,
it's defined like that. The speed of light in specific is defined like that.
There's
like
a
we're
very
never
high
gonna.
standard for a theory.
I
No,
I feel
it's
like
everything
the-
depends on it. It's if the speed of light were different, it wouldn't make a difference to us because everything is defined by whatever it is. So the time is defined by speed of light. The distances are defined by speed of light, not the other way around. Like if we didn't know, like if the speed of light was suddenly slower, nothing would change, both in reality and in our theories, because everything else changes accordingly, and we perceive the same thing. It's kind of weird. Well, actually, there's some things that do change, but
I feel like that's important. Like if someone came along and told us the speed of light was incorrect, we would probably there'd be some like problems there. Someone would be like,
It
"Oh,
wouldn't.
fuck!" Like
It wouldn't.
It wouldn't.
no, it wouldn't. I think there are some things that it would affect specifically for gravity, because of the because we don't understand gravity very well. But for our calculations, the speed of light would like if this light traveled like from now on until forever, just a switch gets flicked in the universe, and light travels at half the speed. It would still travel at 297 million something meters per second. It would still travel at that speed, even though it is traveling at half the speed. And the reason for that is because both the seconds and the meters are depending on the speed of light. So you're changing a variable, but everything else changes along with it. Do you know what I mean?
I
So
guess
even though the light would
there's-
travel half, it would still be the same numbers, is what I'm saying.
I guess.
I know it's a little bit
just,
weird.
There's a lot
It's a
of.
little-
There just seems like a lot of measurements that I would be incorrect if we did not have the correct speed of light.
Yeah. I
And
think,
we would,
yeah,
we would
if
need
you're-
to
if
like
you're- yeah.
rethink a lot of stuff. We'd be like, oh shit, maybe those planets
But-
are actually further than we thought, or like,
We're
I
even
guess
more alone
usually-
in the universe.
yeah,
But I think
like
what that affects is more how light gets affected by other things, rather than necessarily the speed of light. Like imagine we find out that light actually gets slowed down more by gravity than we thought, because our experiments didn't account for whatever, and then all of a sudden the planets are closer to us than they are right now, because light, even though it's being slowed down more than basically, well, it's less about the speed of light, but rather how light interacts with other objects that matters. And that's why it's easy for things to change, and that's why when they say this galaxy is this far away from Earth, there's always some margin of error, because we don't know everything about that. What, there's a term for it. You probably know, because you're more
all I can
technique.
say is that Aristotle got super dunked on because he didn't think light moved at a speed. So take that, you dumb old idiot. Light is a speed.
Are you just researching
Aristotle didn't know much.
things now?
Yeah, I was looking up. Well, I was trying to see what measurements are attached to the speed of light. Like, what are things that we use the speed of light
Everything.
to measure? And
Almost
so
literally everything.
they have like a list here of the history of measurements, which is fucking hilarious because like Galileo's here and it's like he used covered lanterns. His result
Oh, it's-
inconclusive,
that-
which is like, yeah, of course, you idiot. Like you're not gonna get any
That
good
is such a
value
cool
data out of
experiment.
that.
They replicated
But-
that experiment in the 1900s and actually achieved a relatively decent measurement. It's just really difficult to get. But they did
it
it in
just
the
doesn't
mountains.
seem like the best way to measure anything. is using
it's really
lanterns.
complicated. It involves math, like geometry and stuff. It's really weird.
But
But it was-
that was
like,
my
it was ahead
favorite
of its time.
math.
but early
Geometry.
history, yeah, the early
my,
history.
My favorite math was spatial math.
spatial
I don't like
math.
theoretical math or whatever.
Theoretical is
Conceptual
really
math? I
complicated.
don't know. I like
Imaginary math.
I like word problem math. And
Yeah,
geometry is
applying-
just like complicated word problem math.
I think that's-
I hate criminal math, the kind of math that just takes your wallet and walks away with it. It's
Word-
the worst kind
word
of
problem-
math.
Word problem math is basically the basics of all programming. It's always like
It's the number
same
one form
kind
of
of-
math that everyone needs to understand because it's the part you would use in your daily life for like no matter what your life is. It's
Joke's
just a
on
bit-
you. I don't have to pay attention to how much apples are at all. I have money.
Well, people need that math in order to calculate whether or not they're getting a good deal on their apples.
or on their
Look,
microtransactions.
If
I
your
remember,
apple
like,
costs more than
I
a
was
dollar,
grocery
you're not
shop-
getting a good deal.
I was grocery shopping with my mom once. And I felt so guilted because she's like, "Oh, did you math it out?" And I'm like, "I just grab shit that I want and leave." That's my whole process. But she like calculates like in a package of cheese the value per slice and stuff. And I'm like, "You
Oh.
make more money than me. Why are you like this?"
That's a lot. I will do that for specific processed stuff. So like if I buy like a bag of chips, if I see a
Yeah.
bag of chips is like $3 and I go like $3 for how many chips are in here though? And it's like, oh, 15 chips. I'm like, what I'm paying $3 for 15 chips. You're out of your goddamn mind. I pay $3 for 60 chips, like the potato chips. You don't even make them, asshole. It's a robot who makes them. Don't even act like you did anything. Just give me cheap chips. You can't.
I just
Here
trick
in-
me. I
here in
just
Portugal-
my top priority is just to make sure I buy things that I will eat. And then it's like, maximum value. That's a way better track
Yeah.
record than like
I
my
mean,
video
it's-
games I own.
I mean, meat is like meat, produce are the two important things to always see the value of. Like if you look at meat and if you see, like if you go to a big grocery store around here, meat will usually be charged at a kind of a stupidly high amount per pound of meat. So like most grocery stores are like $5 to $7 per pound of meat, which is bad. That's really bad. You shouldn't be paying that much money
yeah.
for meat. That's a shitty amount of money. But you could go to like the place I go to get meat is at a Korean store, like a KP Mart, and it has meat for like
place is so
$3.99 a
good.
pound. Dude, that place is upsettingly good. I hate it. I hate everything
I'm
about
so
it.
mad that you live near it now and I don't.
I don't
miss that
live near it. My
place more-
stupid fucking
Yeah, you don't
my
live
girlfriend
near
lives
it.
near it.
You don't live near that place. I used to live near
No.
that place, and like I miss it more than anything.
It's great. It's the first time I walked in, I was like, "Oh, cool! There's a lot of food I've seen before." And then like, there's a second store, like a second part of the store. Yeah. Like you go through, like, "Oh, look, it's cool little Japanese candies I've seen before. Yay!" And it's and it was like, "No, there's more to the store." I was like, "What? There's more?" And you go to like across the thing, and it's like, "Oh my god, there's like actual food here. Oh shit, it's like cheap. Oh god." Like,
that place is where I used to get my gyudon there. Because they have gyudon bowls, and you never see that anywhere.
Shit, I bought.
It was only
I bought
this year I
like,
finally had a real bowl of that at a restaurant for once because it's never on a menu.
we bought like 5 pork cullets, and it was like $5, and it was upsetting. It was like just on sale. It was just like, oh, we have just pork cullets on sale. Here's a bunch of pork cullets. They're like $5 for 5, and I was like, that's $1 a pork cullet, dude. That's fucking crazy. That's a fucking good deal. Like, and I just feel like some crazy.
I don't know what cutlets are.
Pork cullets are just small cuts of pork, so they're just they're about like the size of your hand.
You mean a pork cutlet?
Yeah, cutlet. What did I say?
I was
Cullet?
like, you were saying like pork cullet, and I was like, what are you saying?
They're like,
I'm afraid to
they're the
interrupt
ribs
because he
without
sounds
the
like
ribs.
sounds like it's like a word he confidently is sure is real. But what the fuck is he saying?
I thought it was cullet. I didn't. I guess I missed the. When you look at the letters on a packaging, it probably doesn't look as good as it should be. But
that's a really good deal. I'm looking at the yeah.
Like, look how much you would normally pay for pork cullet. It's really expensive. Not really expensive, but like it's for getting 2 of them, you normally pay $5. So getting 5 of them for $5 is like, yes, I will take all of these. I will take your whole store is mine. I will buy it.
I think there's something going on here in Portugal because on all grocery stores, there's the normal price of the package, but there's always the price per kilogram, and that applies to all products, all of them. And I don't think it's like they do that like just because out of the goodness of their heart. I'm pretty sure there's a law.
Probably.
Here. I don't
to say the per unit price instead of having you math it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's sometimes really weird because when you're buying like cheese and you're buying like a packet for €2 and it's like 150 grams or something, and then the per kilogram is like 15 euros, and I was like, oh my god, that's not the price. Okay, the price is actually 150 or 2 or something.
Yeah,
so some things are really
when
expensive.
the unit price is more expensive than the actual total price because you're not getting an entire unit.
Yeah,
exactly. That's the
like when you're
we
buying
have
less
that
than
too.
a pound of something.
We have that in the U.S., but we put that number so small, it's hard to even know it's on the price tag.
Yeah, you're
'cause
not
there's no
gonna
rule
mix
about
them up because you have to search for it.
Yeah, Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
like we don't have a rule of how big it has to be. It just has to be visibly like it has to be somewhere people can see it. And so
But
they just
I'm-
put it like these tiny numbers. But yeah,
What- the
sometimes you will
number-
get that. You'll get like a bag of chips and it's like this is $15. Like what? And you're like, oh, for unit price. Like oh, because they made like a truck size of chips at one time and then bagged them.
That number appears in the price tag, but it also appears, and that's what I'm referring to, in like the grocery store like little price
meats?
advertisement. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. That's weird. That must be a rule. Yeah.
Yeah, that probably is. But it's really
But-
handy for some things.
just-
Usually it
But
isn't, but it's,
so if
I just
you
realized
lived
something
in,
really funny.
What?
It's because we were Colonel was like, I don't know if we can talk about the order in which Arabic numbers are read. It might be beyond the scope of this podcast. Then we proceed to talk about like the nature of reality and like the constants that make up physics.
and now we're talking
And then
about
we
cutlets.
now we're talking about pork cutlets.
Yeah.
You know, priorities.
I'm just saying, if you live near KP Mart and you're not going to KP Mart every goddamn day to buy groceries, then I don't even know what you're doing with your money, but you're doing it wrong and you should feel ashamed of yourself. Go there, buy your damn groceries. It's super cheap. They have a lot of stuff on sale. It's fantastic. They have more spices than you're going to find in your shitty ass local Rayleigh's spice rack. I can tell you that much. And also, they have cute little rice toppers. And if you're not eating rice with rice toppers, I'm sorry. That's sad. You
Rice
should eat.
toppers.
Yeah, it's little. They're little. Like basically, you can get different types of flavors for rice toppers. They're like the small little, like a small little bit of seasoning you put on your rice after you've made it.
Oh,
And
that sort of rice
yeah,
topping.
like
Yeah, the
that's
type of
not
topping you'd put on like your white rice.
yeah, you put on the white rice
Like,
to make
like,
it
here's
taste.
some
That's nice.
crispy onion.
Yeah, no.
Yes.
No, what?
Yes.
No. Okay. Anyways, obviously the better idea is sesame seeds and seaweed, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Oh,
seaweed.
that's nice.
It's usually seaweed.
Yeah, that's the good shit. And so there's all the good shit is there. Like I buy tea there because I buy these like the big old fat jugs of tea because they're cheap.
You know how to make that seaweed better?
You
What?
buy tea by the
Crispy onion.
jugs, not by the packet.
No, I buy the there's a specific brand of Japanese tea.
I see.
That's they come in these huge like gallon sizes, and they're really good. And I only drink like a cup of it basically. I just have like a cup in the middle like for lunch. I eat my lunch and I have a cup of tea. And it's not like that kind of tea. It's not the brewing kind. It's the kind you keep. It's like cold tea. And so it's really good, but buying it anywhere is expensive. That's not at a mart, like a locally owned place. And so being able to buy, like they had a sale going on. It was like, oh, you can get 3 of these for $6, and they're normally $4 a bottle. And it was like, all right, I'm just gonna buy all the tea now. So my fridge is just full of tea, but it's worth it because I'm gonna drink all that tea. It's upsetting when I go to like Rayleigh's to go buy like I had to buy a bottle of ketchup or something, and I'm looking at the prices for certain stuff. I'm like, you guys are scam artists. I didn't have to pay this much money. Why? But
Tea is such an interesting drink.
Is it?
I've recently, in the last, I think it was like 2 months ago, I finally shelled out for proper tea. So I spent my life always drinking the crappy tea that's crappy that costs like a euro and a 50 for like a handful of packets. And I shelled out for some Earl Grey tea that costs 15 euros and it's like 100 grams. And that thing is like, I tell you, that is, I did not know tea tasted so nice. And I don't put milk or anything. It's just normal tea, no sugar. So, you know, because I paid for it, I might as well taste it. And I did not know tea was so good. And I'm the kind of person that I usually don't drink the same thing or eat the same thing like every day. So I kind of wish I was, because I would drink that thing every day. And I did not know tea was so good. I never had Japanese tea though. Kind of want to. Because, you know, anime and ocha desu ne. Itadakimasu.
Ocha. It's
Wait, itadakimasu is the one where you're
That's eating,
saying hi when
yeah.
you're... It's eating. Okay, I got it right.
yeah. It's thank you for this meal is basically what that means. But yeah, they it's weird. It's crazy that there are some corner like you wouldn't even notice like that KP Mart is right by a Walmart and a Safeway. There's like just a basically like a little bit down the way you'll find a Walmart and a Safeway right next to each other, and the poor unaware masses going to Walmart or Safeway buying their groceries at a markup just don't know that they can drive down the street just a little bit more and get it. And it makes me realize that like you should probably go outside and see what nearby marts there are that aren't part of your Rolodex of what brand name grocery stores, because like those little tiny shops, well, not KP Mart's too big, but you can find small little shops like that all over the place, and I don't know, seems worth it. Seems like if you can you should always try to shop at like places that you get the most money, you get the most value for your money, which is usually ironically the advertisement you usually see. But
for me the big problem with the small shops is you mentioned drive a little further. Like you're driving to the shop anyway. I think the big advantage of the small shops is that they can be small enough that they're close to your home, so you just walk there and you can go there like once every day or once every couple of days and just have new things. I imagine in the US this is completely only happens for a very small number of people because it's you drive everywhere in America as far as I understand it. But
yes,
that's the reason why small shops don't exist anymore. Even in Europe.
Also, fun fact: KP Mart is right next to a light rail station, so you have no excuse not to use public transit to get to KP Mart either.
Light rail.
A light rail.
Light rail.
Light rail.
A light rail is Sacramento's pathetic, sad, and embarrassing attempt at creating a train system.
It's like a metro here in Europe.
So it's not BART, but it's not a metro. It's the light rail.
That thing looks exactly like what they call metro here in my city. Exactly.
Yeah, but it's not as good as a metro, because a metro actually is.
No, yeah.
A metro was designed by somebody with the intention to help people get around a city. The light rail was designed as an attempt to look like we wanted to get people around the city, but instead we wanted people to go to like some parts of the city, but not all parts, because we can't have a light rail in those parts of the city. But we can have light rail in the parts that people can't complain about having a light rail in the city. Which is
that sounds exactly like
you're not
going
to find light rail in nicer parts of town, because the nicer parts of towns don't want a fucking train going through them, because that kind of sound isn't the kind of sound that you get when you pay $600,000 for a fancy house. That's the kind of sound you get when you don't have a house. Apparently,
you have fancy houses in the nice part of what nice part of the city are you talking about then?
Talking about Sacramento, but what?
Yeah, well, like what the nice part of town? Do people live there?
I mean, live is a really strong word. Most people have homes there. I can't say whether they live there or not. They may just have a house.
They may just have the house there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because here, like here in Porto, the metro is largely above ground. There are some underground areas, mainly in the center of the city, because it's an old city, so they don't destroy anything. They just want to preserve as much of it, so that when they built it, they made as much of it overground. But when they had to, they would go underground. And like the center of town, it is like you're saying. It's basically made to prioritize certain areas rather than necessarily allowing people to go wherever they want to go in the city. So there's no like ring around, or a ring would be probably the best in the city that I live next to, because I don't actually live in Porto. I live a little bit away, but the center of town is like obviously cities are very different, but the night when you think about the nice part of town here, I think of busy bustling areas that have a lot of shops, a lot of a lot of like bars and restaurants and tourist attractions, but it's not like people live there. There's some houses here and there, but it's in fact they're not necessarily the most expensive houses in town. They're more expensive than others, but the most expensive ones are always in the suburbs here. That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't.
It's like I have no idea how. I know Sacramento is a very big city, like in terms of area.
Yeah, I mean it's the Sacramento area or county, I guess is what it is. Sacramento County encompasses a lot of smaller cities, like Rancho Cordova is technically part of Sacramento County, even though it is its own city. Same with like Folsom, same with Roseville. They're all like part of Sacramento County for some reason, but I've been around a lot of Sacramento, and I don't think I've ever once in my entire life seen a part of Sacramento and said, this is a nice part of town. Like it always just looks like a place I probably could live, but maybe not. It's not the kind of place that I would want to live, and
Sacramento, California.
Sacramento, California.
But it's a city, I guess. Sacramento is kind of like a less worse LA. It's really big. It's got a lot of parts to it, and no one can seem to corral it into a really good place to live. They just keep trying their best and failing. And I don't know. I think Sacramento could be better. There's a lot of parts where it's like, oh, you're almost there, Sacramento. You got it. You're right there. Just keep doing this part. And it's like, no.
That was a panic. Today is the first day of my new channel schedule, and none of the videos were scheduled to go up.
Nice.
So like the videos were supposed to start going up like 5.5 hours ago, and I just now like saw on Twitter people be like, so what's up? I don't know how it happened. I looked at my stuff. It looks like everything, like I have dozens of videos, and it looks like everything is scheduled correctly except the stuff that was supposed to be up today was all scheduled for the 2nd, and I don't know why.
And this is why we complain about.
No clue how that happened.
This is why we complain about YouTube's tools, because there's no way that they help you.
It's not
Keith
great. My least favorite thing is that they just removed the part of the dashboard that tells you what time videos go up. If you schedule stuff now, it only says the day. It doesn't say what time. And I'm like, that.
If you hover over it, it says the time, right?
But it just fucking make the universe make it the interface good. It had more information before, and you removed it.
It doesn't say the time.
So
they removed it.
Yeah, in order to check what time a video is going to go up on the day that it's scheduled for, I have to literally check by opening the edit page for that video, then go to schedule, and then the scheduled tab itself is like a thing you have to click to open, then check the time it's scheduled, as opposed to like fucking.
They didn't.
Used to just say it.
I'm gonna help you, Keith. They didn't change it. You can hover over the scheduled button in the list.
It's still
in the
bad
content.
though. It used to just say it on the screen. And then you could at a glance check to see if you accidentally, because like the most common mistake I'll make is I'll accidentally, and it's been a while I think, but you'll just like accidentally schedule something as being like the PM or AM, like the opposite of what you mean, and it's like, oh fuck, well, that video went up in the middle of the night.
Might I recommend, while it seems useless, might I recommend doing the send feedback button?
Mm-hmm. No, it doesn't work. Every day. I
like to think it literally doesn't work.
No, it does work, but it doesn't work. Every day while they were having the studio beta, when you could still access the old control panel, and now we have the new one. But every day while they were doing the beta version and I was using it, every day I would send feedback and I would write it out. I wouldn't even say copy paste.
Because whenever you wanted to go back to the old one, you had to manually switch back to it via a button every day and explain why, if you
and every
could.
day, every day I sent the same thing. You cannot customize the dashboard. Guess what? You can't customize the dashboard. Yeah, it's been years since they introduced the new studio.
One of the issues was like it's all the features you know of minus a bunch of them, and they're all hard to find now. But also it loads like shit. Like when they first were trying to
Yeah.
force us to use the new dashboard, it just was so slow about
It's gotten
a little bit better.
everything.
Well,
Yeah.
I imagine at that time there were very few servers running that
Also,
new dashboard.
why am I
so-
still not able to mass edit end screens? Give me real fun.
used to
Be
be
able
able
to
to-
actually add functionality at some point instead of just taking
The
it
used to
away
be
with
able-
every iteration.
end
They
screens are
remove
going to
it,
go
yeah.
away. Yeah, they're going to.
Do you think they're going to go
soon.
away?
Yeah.
Did they announce
They
it?
haven't. They haven't done shit to end screens. They haven't touched them in so long. Like end screens have been static in how they work for so long now. I'm under the impression that the only reason is just because they're going to get rid of these things eventually.
Well, I assume they're static because they're supposed to be universal and never change, because otherwise the functionality
Yeah.
and compatibility would
But-
change.
But I mean,
Yeah.
like, even how you edit them hasn't changed. It's not like they've gotten better. The
I mean,
only new
the
feature they've-
website's different because they had to remake it.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. But I'm saying like the only feature that they've added since that, or the only feature they've added.
In
to
fact,
end
they
cards since
totally
they came
changed
out,
it. It used to have way more. It used to have way less clicking, but everything in the new interface involves more
Yeah,
clicks.
no, there's more clicking. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's a new interface. But I meant like the only. Well, it depends. The only thing that they've added to end cards since this new interface update is that you can import from old ones, which is like, thank God they brought that back
Yeah,
over,
but they
'cause I
have
would
they have that,
died.
but I can't be like select these 30 videos, import from that one. Like whether give me
Yeah.
that feature. You have
Yeah.
the ability for me to edit an end screen without
Well-
manually dragging around windows all the time. It's like, what if I want to make like these 30 videos I'm uploading all promote this video essay, for example? I got to do them one by one. Fuck this.
And I
It's
agree.
really
it's
not
just, like,
made with us in
But
mind.
yeah, it's not made
yeah.
for YouTube or for not made for Let's Players. This is made for people who make one video like
We are
either one a
scum.
day or one a week or one a month. But this is not made for like multiple videos a day. You are not supposed to use YouTube for multiple videos a day unless you're a news company. Unless, in which case you have like a
You have people doing
Yeah,
it.
you have
It's
people
like
doing
They
this.
get Jerry to do all the clicking.
yeah.
I'm like genuinely
Poor Jerry.
confused by like who subscribes to like, I don't know if it's like IGN or GameSpot or something, but like I've definitely seen like some gaming publications that upload like 15 videos per day, and it's just like a deluge. It's just noise. And I'm like, how does anyone like this has to entirely be people that just watch via the front page, and it occasionally will suggest a video by them when it feels like, and that's it.
I think this is like most of their subscribers are probably other news people who are like watching
people.
stuff to like find
Yeah.
out news. It's just like, oh, cool,
Yeah, it
IGN
could
made a
be.
video. I'm gonna make an article about that IGN video, so people don't have to watch the IGN video.
It's just an Ouroboros.
Yeah, well, that's all news is. It's just an Ouroboros of like
Eat it.
it's the
It's just a
shittiest
bunch
game of
of-
telephone ever made.
20 publications eating each other, and like every time another one of them says it, the actual content of the news article gets even more obscured as they keep like misrepeating it. Like, oh well,
Well,
we
yeah, that's-
can't just what's it called, the stealing word for school.
Oh, plagiarize.
We can't just plagiarize everything. We got to change it. But like every time they change it, it gets less true because they just get all the details wrong, until the point where at some point, like when you're trying to figure out why articles are wrong, it's not even due to blatant misinformation, but because like the fucking same message has been repeated so many times now from only one original primary source that like every single change made the thing less true, because they added a little bit of an inflammatory editorial, or they just straight up like misrepeated something, and then 12 people reported on the misrepeated thing, and then at some point somebody has to do like a fucking autopsy to figure out why this misinformation's spreading, and it's usually like practically like, oh, a typo happened 12 versions ago. And
I
no
think-
one noticed.
Obviously, there's in terms of news, there's a huge pressure to be profitable on any news publication, but I think we're seeing. I don't see that. I don't know that a lot of people talk about it. But do you remember how, like, I think it was like 6-7 years ago, a lot of newspapers started being paywalled. I think it was even more. I think it was probably like 10 years ago. There was, it just became the norm that you would get newspaper sites just having paywalls for a lot of the stuff.
That's still a thing, yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, for sure, but it didn't used to be. And I think we're seeing over the last few years, few years, I think we're seeing the result of that, specifically in regards to misinformation and regards to people discrediting experts and all that stuff, is the result of just an environment that is hostile to journalism.
It also helps when like there's access to information and not like the only information people have access to is from a website called like freedomfortheamericans.com and they have like 50 advertisements for weird brain pills and the articles are about like nonsense conspiracy theories guised as real problems.
Get our Second Amendment onesie for your baby.
It comes with a free gun that the baby can use. It has little tiny triggers just for him. Like it's weird. It's what's more funny to me is that this, again, just like everything, like all products in capitalism, you're just kind of like funneling it all into one specific avenue. So like local newspapers start to die off. And you start having less and less knowledge about the things happening outside of your own window. And all you can see is this information that doesn't have any relevance to you at all. Where it's like, I can tell you all the things that are happening in like some other country outside the world, but it's really hard to find out what happened like in my town today.
I have that with my whole country.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah.
That's
but the thing is, it's not that it's difficult to find some stuff that is happening here. It's just that the stuff that shows in the news is either skewed and so it's misleading, or it's just stuff that doesn't matter. Like, this person had an accident on the highway and unfortunately died, or there's this person that made it rich because her grandmother, I don't know, whatever. It's the normal news front page because it's always like recent things, and because it's recent and it's a small country, it's always nonsense. And instead of like focusing on real stuff and stuff that actually matters, because the stuff that actually matters doesn't sell. So that's why I'm saying, like, I purposely avoid that sort of news agencies here in Portugal. So it's difficult. I don't know.
And local news is usually a mix between like, yeah, weather's probably going to be okay, I guess. And also, here's why you're in danger. That's like their two. That's just the two buttons they press over and over again. It's like
concerns.
Like I think the majority of local news reporting that people actually pay attention to is just the the weather. Yeah, weather broadcast, and then it's then they have to just make you afraid, so you read anything else. Do people
watch the weather still?
They read it at least. On a website, like the weather part is like really important.
Yeah, it is, but that's why, like, AccuWeather is just I haven't watched television in 15 years. So what am I saying? 15 years? In 20 years? No, not 20. Wait, yes, 20 years. Yes. Man,
it is interesting to think about, like, the idea that, like, it's always like, oh, don't try. Like, a lot of misinspiration, a lot of misinformation comes from people just reading the headline and then moving on from that and just making assumptions about the rest of the article. And a lot of headlines are intentionally inflammatory and somewhat misleading to get you to read the article. But then said website will be behind a paywall, so instead people will just only get the headline, which is like misleading to like it could just be actually active disinformation, but then that'll be the only part anyone takes away is like the clickbait element, and then that just becomes like the fact.
Yeah. It's
Yay.
Just reading the title and immediately commenting, I don't know why you do it.
Yeah.
Especially when titles are the most susceptible to the influences of having to be profitable. If there's going to be something that is...
And like being rewritten by the editor.
Yeah, as well. Yeah.
But, I mean, that's what seems to work. I don't know.
It doesn't work very well. I don't think it works.
Then why do people keep doing it? I can't imagine that this, like, paywall...
Well, it works for making more money, I think. It just doesn't work for being news, is what he means.
It doesn't work for society, yeah.
I mean, is that... What more do you want, really?
Mm-hmm. The news isn't for society. The news is for money.
Yeah, everything's for money. If the news was for money, or the news was for people, then people would have the news. I don't know. It just
We need
okay?
to seize the means of news.
I'm trying to think of like it's funny how I mean it's not that there's a lot of stuff going on in the day to day of your city, but you would think the internet would have made this easier, not harder. And I guess in some regards, it's not as if I turn on my web browser and my web browser is pointed directly to my local city's website. But
It's because the internet's astronomically unprofitable. 'Cause pretty much everybody makes their money
yeah.
via ads.
I don't think.
Whereas like physical print news media would make money via subscriptions in addition to ads, so they could do both. But for a while there, they had to just try to live off of ads entirely, which, like, as we know, as people try to do that, it doesn't work great. Like, if you look at my daily audience of like how many people watch my videos every day, you would think I was a very successful entertainer if it was like live shows or whatever the fuck. But instead, it's like, no, it's like I'm like making pennies from like thousands of people, and it's like being able to be seen. Like I'm seen by tens of thousands of people per day, and that translates into like trash money per day. Like it does not equate to the comparative level of celebrity that comes from like the level of like viewership you're getting. And it's like, so like how the fuck do you like if I could reach the number of people that I do per day as like a newspaper, I would probably be a profitable newspaper if it was like a actual physical newspaper. But like, because it's so astronomically out of whack, like, yeah, like they can't actually make a profit online once everything's switched there. It's like everyone stopped reading the physical newspaper, but then they can't make enough money online via ads alone, and then it just becomes this big mess of like, how do you make any of this infrastructure happen? And what's messy about all of this is that so many of the, like, at least from what I've heard, so many of the like top of the totem pole agencies and so on essentially just like get their news from all those local agencies. So like it's like one of those things where it's like, oh, Disney is completely dependent on all of those local theaters, and the local theaters are going out of business, and Disney helps that happen to some extent. But like the whole reason their movies are doing well is because they can be in those theaters. And there's an element of like a lot of the top of the line, or whatever you want to call them, news agencies like often are just repeating shit that all of the local newspapers and news agencies are actually doing the real reporting for, and so it just turns into this big mess. Like I think sometimes about like a show like not even to say they're the top or anything, but just like on YouTube, like a channel like Philip DeFranco, like the Philip DeFranco show is like a daily news channel, but like I don't think they have any reporters. Like
Because
they're
you're
just
forgetting
they're just repeating what everyone else says.
You're forgetting a very, very important dynamic of news that in the age of television specifically has started, which is news isn't about information, it's about entertainment.
Yeah.
And that's besides even all the profit motives and what sells and what doesn't. That's just the basic reason why not all people obviously, but the vast majority of people who watch news, that's why they watch news. And you see that on YouTube very, very obviously.
Yeah.
And just like any
No, it's all the equivalent of like Fox News, where they're like, here's an entire network where nobody's a reporter and everyone's a commentator.
Yeah.
Which
exactly,
is
because it like
not reporting.
Well, it can be reporting in a way, but it's just that because editorial
it's not
is
journalism. I mean, like, you're not doing investigative journalism. You're just signal boosting whatever you feel like repeating that other people are saying already.
Yeah. So you're creating the news more
and
than
at
necessarily
most having your hot take and just slathering it all over all the internet.
But that, like, I think that's that's so easy to see on YouTube. Like, with all the Blizzard Activision lawsuits and harassment and all the bad things that Activision has had in the last couple of weeks, you can see YouTube. There's so many videos about it, and they don't add anything because like all the information is just it's very sparse. But there's just so many videos just profiting off of that. And when I say profiting, I'm not trying to shame anyone for trying to make a living. I'm trying to. What I'm saying is that it's a pattern of behavior that is very easy to tell, because obviously people are interested in what's going on, and it's like the latest season of whatever show is hot right now, and people are interested in that. They're going to click on it, and if it's something crap instead of a good thing like a show, it's, you know, they're interested as well, so they make content about it. And channels rise and fall based off of seasonal news. Like, I remember, it's been a while since I watched that channel, but I remember I watched this news channel for a while, because I thought it wasn't a news channel. It was like it was editorial content, but it was a lawyery kind of person that always had new insight into things about Steam. I think it was Steam Greenlight games and what was going on within Steam and their relationship with developers, new developers, and all this sort of stuff. And I thought that's what they were focusing on. And it's been a long time since I watched that, so I don't. My details might be wrong, but I thought that was what they were doing. But then, you know, as the months passed and more video, you know, I kept watching. They just started to pivot towards whatever was hottest in the news more recently, and they just started talking about YouTube drama or whatever. And I just started to figure out why that was, and eventually I stopped watching. But because channels, like, if you don't focus on what's hottest as a news agency, you just can't make a living. And the YouTube channel is that, but on steroids.
Well, as a topical channel, you also just eventually realize you just go to your own channel and you sort by most viewed, and you're like, oh, this topic goes really well. Like, for Vlog Brothers, their videos will do well if they talk about giraffe sex, and for SciShow, their videos will do well if they talk about marijuana. Those are like all of their most popular videos in the history of their channel. It's like 10 marijuana videos, just over and over again. It's like they've covered like thousands of topics, but specifically the marijuana videos are like the top 10 videos on their channel or whatever the fuck, like last time I checked. That's
Everybody
usually what
wants
happens.
that 85 or
Yeah.
something.
Like, I saw there was some channel that was talking about like, it's like far right groups or whatever, and like he has like two of his most popular videos were like, why are so many bronies Nazis and why are so many furries Nazis? And then he just combined the two, and he's like, why are so many furries and bronies Nazis? And that was his most popular video. It was literally just him iterating on the topics of two previous videos that had already done well on his channel. Like, that's like the fucking, like, that's just down to a T, the idea of just like responding to basic feedback about what has done well in the past and trying to iterate on that directly. And like, that's the basis of how like I chose games to play based on what games did well before. And it's like, it's why Neko Jishi did well after all the weird fucking Tokyo Jungle audience members came to Andrew's channel. it's like, oh wow, I have two audiences. I have Andrew like knew he had the furries, and he had the and he had the visual novel people, and it's like he's like, I should play a furry visual novel, and then it's like, there it goes, there's all the views. Enjoy. Fucking,
I don't like
you
it.
reap what you sow. When are you gonna play another visual novel for furries, Andrew? You could become a full timer. Be a full-time visual novel furry voice actor.
That's the thing.
And then,
Is
then you'll finally live out your dreams as a voice actor when you get hired for an actual official visual novel.
I can't wait. I can't wait to be like a visual novel actor for some porn furry game, and that's gonna be that will be the thing on my tombstone. I get to like
sorry, Dad.
Right? I get to like, my tombstone will just be my name and then some shitty persona character that I voiced in some visual novel once. I'll just die that way. Because obviously once I'm done voicing this visual novel, I just will die from shame.
People will just lay the body pillow over your tombstone.
There you go. Perfect. 10 out of 10.
No, I mean, it's a body pillow. It's easy to make a sculpture out of it. They can make one of those.
Obviously, I should be buried with the body pillow. I mean, if someone unearths my grave, like
I'm just imagining. I'm just talking
years
like when
from
they put the
now-
flowers and the candles there at the memorial, and then
the
someone
body
just
pillow?
lays the body pillow, like drapes it over the top of your gravestone.
People.
I would
that must have
rather
happened.
someone just put the head of the fursuit on.
That must have happened to somebody.
Yeah, just a whole one. There's a
That's
whole
expensive.
head.
You're
Leave it there.
greedy. Body
Yeah.
pillow, gravestone.
Oh, they're furries. They have money.
I'm getting gravestones on body pillows.
That's why I can't be a
But I'm
furry.
not getting.
Gravestones on body pillows.
Yeah.
I thought I was thinking body pillows on
I
gravestones.
found a pillow that is a gravestone shape that says "in memory of sleep." I have so far not found a gravestone with a body pillow draped over it, which was the real.
That must have happened. Right?
Maybe they did,
Somebody
maybe they
must
didn't
have done that
maybe
in a
they
funeral
didn't-
somewhere.
Maybe they weren't like as distressing enough to like photograph it.
Everybody instead
Granted,
of
you're already
photographing
the
started
person that's
punching
going to
this
do the
person.
step one, so who knows why you would be the person that does step two too.
It doesn't. I either way. Either way, I don't know. That's the thing though. I would never want to become full time doing something I don't like. That seems like the worst. That basically seems like what most people do for a living already. Like that's the point of a job, right?
Yeah.
Is that it's something you don't enjoy doing. And so why would I want to do that if I can avoid that? Like I would rather just do something I actually enjoy.
It's
For
a
a
living.
living instead. Yeah, like I don't want to be like that, and I don't want to be. I feel like there is the oxymoron there where playing something you don't enjoy to make a living off of it, I can't imagine is creating good content because you're not enjoying what you're doing. So I can't imagine you're being entertaining in what you're making.
See, what you got to do
And
is
I
you
could
just
be
got
wrong, I
to
don't
die
know.
inside a little. Which I think you're good at, so it's incorrect.
I've died. I mean, the last time I died on the inside, I stopped playing Let's Play, or I stopped doing Let's Plays. So I don't think
Let's
I can
tempt
die
fate again.
anymore. It's just
Oh,
that's the
man.
thing though, is like I
I'm
could
gonna have
like
to
I
stop
could
reading
never
the comment section.
For what?
Oh,
Like the moment
for
we
the video?
yeah, the moment we start because you can't just like not read the comment section for like one playthrough. Like if you have to just like not open the comments dashboard anymore. And yeah, like once we
Yeah.
start playing Zero Escape, I'll just have to like stop reading all comments on my channel for like 2 months. Because I'll always remember that like literally part one of thankfully we had binged it so hard that we were way too far, and so it didn't spoil it actually, but literally on part one of Zero Escape they spoiled like a major twist from like part 80 of our series. What I can't get over in particular is that people are just really like tragically incredibly bad at not spoiling things. And one of the worst ones, and fucking PSA to all of you idiots, we can always tell the dumbest kind of like quote unquote not spoiler comment is every single time that somebody like quotes something that you say and like does like an emoji or like a face or like a knowing look or whatever. It's like, cool, now I know that happens. Like you're just quoting that thing and your implication is that it's ironic I'm saying that, or oh, funny you should say that. It's like literally every adult with a functioning brain 2 seconds later is like, oh, I know exactly what he means. All right, so now I know that happens now. Like people are so fucking bad at not spoiling stuff with exactly that format of comment. Like and it keeps happening too. Like was it Half-Life? It's a God. There's a lot of versions.
was it Alex?
This is another comment that I hated about Alex, but because the other thing I hate is when people confirm your theories aren't true. That's a spoiler. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, that is yeah, absolutely.
If you confirm that what somebody says isn't what's going to happen, then that's still a spoiler. Don't do that. Don't say which theories are right or wrong. You need to shut the fuck up. People are so bad at spoilers. But yeah, like spoilers for Zero Escape. but like, 'cause I can't like reference the example without actually saying the spoiler as a result. But like, literally in part 1 of the video, we're just looking at the people, like the lineup of characters, because the start screen of each game shows all the characters in the game. And I looked at Sigma, and I was like, oh, it's like an older Junpei, because he looks like an older Junpei. And then people are quoting like older Junpei and being like, It's like, you dumb bastard. If I hadn't already gotten to the part where the reveal happens, where there's an older Junpei, then that would have fucking spoiled it for me. You fucking idiot. Yeah. How are you this stupid?
And it's really obnoxious is this game is like, you have to walk on eggshells with this game, because if you know any part of it before it happens, it is the biggest, fattest, smellest wet towel. Like, you cannot enjoy yourself.
It just ruins the entire process of like trying to like guess at what's going to happen, which is like fun whether you love or hate the game, because you could just be guessing it because you're like, this game's so fucking stupid, it probably will do that. But like, both versions are just out the window the moment you just know. Which is like, sorry, you guys, shut the fuck up. Like, I'm gonna be like off every social media because I don't trust people. They'd be like, oh, it's not really a spoiler, I'm just gonna tweet it at them. I'm like, you dumb bastard. Shut the fuck up. Stop talking to me about the game that's based entirely around mysteries that you're watching because I don't know the stuff. Don't ever talk to me about it, about anything. Shut the fuck up. Stop sending me messages. I will literally just like deactivate my Twitter. Fuck you.
It's so funny too, because usually these are people who love the game. These are people who are passionate about this game, and there's not a faster method to get someone to nope out of a game faster than knowing what happens in the game. Like, if you know the ending, why are you gonna bother? I don't need to sit around to be fucking disappointed. Like, you know.
Well, if you know the ending of Zero Escape, why are you gonna bother? I think there's games.
If I knew the ending of Zero Escape before I played Zero Escape, I would have never played Zero Escape. That's why I don't play Danganronpa, because I don't need to do that to myself. I already know how bad it is.
There are several really stupid twists that are seared into my brain about Danganronpa that I don't think will ever leave, because they're so fucking bizarre. And it's like I can't play that game and just like I would just have to be like, oh, I'm just gonna not acknowledge it. Yeah, Stephanie, what do you think is gonna happen? Oh, that's interesting. I can't say anything because I already know about the dumb, stupid shit that's gonna happen soon.
Yeah, I really hope that. I know Andrew was watching the Let's Play. Did you watch the Let's Play, or what did you do, Andrew, for the 2 first games?
Keith linked me a video of someone just recapping the entire game.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Then it's not as bad as I thought it was. Because I thought you were watching the Let's Play.
Yeah. I wanted to watch the Let's Play because I wanted to like revisit all of our gripes and remember what they were, and then also edit highlights the entire time. Just be like, oh, that's a good video. That'll be a good highlight, and just like stock up on them. But it was just so much time.
If you did that, you would start the third game so salty. And so full of rage and anger and bile, it would color the.
I've never actually been angry at Zero Escape. That's Andrew.
Joke's on you.
I'm having a great time with how stupid it is.
I posted the picture, the meme I made, but watching the recap videos, I just had like flashbacks. Like every time they would mention something, it would flash in my mind like, oh god, that's right, it does this, and the guy would be like, and it did this. Oh god.
Oh
like,
no.
It is. Yeah, it's like the oh no. Like there's just so much stuff about that game that's hard to. It's hard
murdered all of his own coworkers. It's just why did he do that?
They were on drugs in space. So they didn't know they were in space. Like, fuck
a drug
you.
that dilates time by the exact amount of time that it would take to offset the exact amount of gravity difference there is. They're both 1/6, except that wouldn't work that way because a bunch of stuff would be moving weird, even if it's the same speed.
Oh no! Yeah,
like how do doors open or how do objects fall?
It's so easy to fall back into it. It's so easy.
It's so dumb. Like but it's dumb in the worst way. It's dumb in a way that thinks it's smart, and that's the atrocious part. Where someone's just like, I did it. I wrote a twist. And you're like, no, you fucking didn't, you idiot. What you wrote was garbage. And then you sold it back to me as a twist. It doesn't make it a twist.
Or how all of the ending, the villain motivation, and the ending, and half of the things set up, and all the explanations of 999 are all just retconned by Zero Escape. Like, half of the game is retconned by the next game because of how not planned any of this was. And it's
I
like,
still have no
how did you
idea
fail
what
to
they like.
yes and yourself? It's like the
Yeah.
fucking the Zero Escape trilogy has the fucking modern Star Wars problem, but one guy wrote it. He did it to himself.
For
What a
me,
fucking
I thi-
disaster.
For me,
Yeah.
the biggest thing, while you guys are talking, I was trying to look up the wiki page. Oh, I found it finally. Every time I look at a synopsis of although this time I'm not seeing the example, so I'm just going to give you my perception. I look at a synopsis of the plot, and it's so long. It's like the summary of the whole thing bores me. It's because it's just so full of nonsense that doesn't matter. And then I compare it to other things that I like, and think of if I had to write a synopsis of the stuff that I like. It's usually feels like I could write it in a lot fewer words. But obviously I couldn't do that for 999 or for Virtue's Last Reward or whatever, because there are indeed a lot of details. There are indeed a lot of twists and turns, and it's just like, why would you write a story like that? Because I don't think can anybody write a story just like, imagine when you set out to write a book, if you can imagine, and you have in your head you have a story. Some people write it like that. You have a story that you want to write, and you start it and you write it off. But if you have the story in your head, like, it can't be that long. It can be a really complicated story. I get the impression that the writers for these games they sort of have an idea where they're going, but they're just winging it all the time, and that's why there's so many twists.
cul-de-sacs. Like,
Yeah, they must be.
I watched the recap videos that I sent to Andrew, but I also watched a video that recapped both movies. I mean, games. And the funniest thing about
Oof,
that,
don't scare me.
The funniest thing about the video that recapped both games in like 12 minutes or whatever was that 999 took up more of the video than Zero Escape did, despite being half as long, because so much of Zero Escape is fucking useless. It's so much wasted time and plot threads that go nowhere because the game had to have like 50 endings, and so it's so many endings where it's like, you actually betrayed that guy and that guy betrayed you, and then Sigma like could have gone through the door, but he was like hesitating, and then everybody grabbed him and then he died anyway, and that's the end, is he didn't make it through the door after getting through the door, and I'm like, I fucking hate you. Or in this ending, fucking Fi betrays you because you betrayed her in a different timeline, but you did or did not play that one yet, but that's the ending of the entire arc, this entire like fucking 3-hour plot thread that ends with this particular ending. It just ends with the fact that Fi betrayed you because of another timeline. That's the entire plot of that storyline. And it's like, fuck.
My favorite part about the Zero Escape series is it's like listed as a survival horror.
I mean, it's not a survival horror.
Or horror. It's not either survival or horror.
The premise is horror, and a bunch of people die horribly.
horror.
So horror vaguely makes sense as like a horror visual novel, but that's not what survival means. That's not what survival horror means. Survival horror has to have mechanics.
Yeah, certainly the survival horror. Do you think it's horror
mechanics. It's supposed
Well, it's like the
to
Cube,
be horror,
which is also supposed to be a horror movie.
The idea is that you literally die anytime you fail, which is a horror element.
Yeah, I suppose makes sense.
But the problem is so technically Five Nights at Freddy's is a horror game, but it's wrapped in such a stupid design that it's hard to be horrified by it.
You're just
like,
scared.
That's the
or just not scared. Well, startled.
You
that's
just
the
get
thing.
startled by a very loud noise.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Is like I don't think that Five Nights at Freddy's is scary because it's just stupid cartoon character animals running
startling.
at you, and that's fine. It's easy to dodge that. You can just be like, look at that one. It looks so badly rendered. But that's how Zero Escape is. It's like whenever a horror thing comes up, you're like, yeah, but this was so badly written. How did we get here? That the horror drops from itself. Because
Yeah.
you're not scared. You're just like baffled. You suddenly have to go into this mode where your brain has to do like a 360 no scope spin to try to find like, how the fuck did we get here? What happened? What is going on here?
Because
Like,
the horror
when
isn't the point of the writing. Most of the writing is the puzzles and the Ice 32 or whatever. And
Like,
Ice
can't-
9.
I feel like the
Ice
books.
9.
I feel like the games don't dwell hard enough on the most existentially horrifying thing about the games, which is the fact that like they die so many times, and like as far as I can tell, in all of the timelines where they die, that's never resolved. Those people are never like rescued in any way. You're literally having like 500 bad timelines, which all still happen. Just so one timeline can be okay. Like it's
And that's
like
that's
the
the
plot
premise
of
of the
Zero Escape is, what if there
series.
was 50 Trunks? What if Trunks happened 50 times and all of the bad universes where Trunks and all of his family and everyone he ever knew gets killed by androids, they all still happen, all just to create one timeline where the androids don't kill everybody. Like that's the plot of Zero Escape.
That's
And
the
but
fundamental
remember-
premise of the series.
But
Yeah.
remember, like the one guy, the main character who survives, who makes it through, only survives because of morphogenetic fields that help him. Like, it culminates all of the failures into one person's brain, which is. That is horrifying to think about, that there's one person sitting there having what amounts to like
They remember
17,
dying in like 50 universes.
Yeah, like 17 flashbacks of people that he's standing
just
next
live
to
with the
killing
weight of
him. Like, yeah, like there are like 7 times in Zero Escape where like one of the cast kills you, and
Oh, yeah.
Junpei just keeps on going. Like he's like, yeah, everybody, we're gonna all be saved. I'm like, that girl killed you. like I don't think you should say that to her.
And like the plot of the second game, after all the twists and shit, like I already said spoilers, guys, is that the fucking like the entire world has already ended, and so a bunch of people are on the moon so they can die in 50 different universes, so that one of those universes, the moon people, can successfully send themselves into the past to then do all of them dying over and over again experiment, but I assume before the outbreak ever happened, so that one of them can then escape that facility knowing about the outbreak and stop it or something. Like I assume that's the premise
Yeah.
of literally the entire trilogy, and that's what they're going for. Shut the fuck up in the comments, by the way, about the third game. And it's like, what's horrifying there is that the cast of Zero Escape is not the same cast as Zero Time Dilemma. So like a few of them go back in time and try to save the future, but a bunch of them just fuck off. So even in the good timeline, they don't even like have an influence on another version of themselves in a different timeline and save that version of themselves in the past. Like Clover and Lotus and Quark can all just go fuck themselves because they don't show up. They're not in the cast of the next game. So like,
Wait, what?
like Lotus and Clover just have to deal with the fact that like that's the ending of Zero Escape, is that they just like, oh, I guess this is all like a hyper complicated multi-death arena that we were just volunteered for against our will, and we've been killed in 100 timelines just to get this one good timeline where now Sigma and Phi and Junpei and June know about what they have to do, but we can just go fuck ourselves because we're just gonna sit here and die on a moon base in a doomed timeline, even in the good ending, and they're not even in the next game. So like they're not gonna go back in time to, like they weren't training themselves. Like only those 4 characters were training for the super mission to save the world. Those characters could go fuck themselves.
It's such a baffling decision. Some like, why do they change I think I understand why they changed the cast. It's because they have cool new ideas for new characters, or maybe because of publisher pressure.
Calm down there, Chief. No one has any cool ideas in Zero Escape games, all right? They have ideas, none of them are cool.
But I'm talking about in their perspective. These are like, isn't the main writer like he's an artist as well, like he draws, right?
I don't
Or am I
know.
wrong?
I know that he
No,
doesn't.
he's a
He's
writer.
not the character. He doesn't make the art of the characters because that.
Oh, he doesn't. Okay.
Yeah.
At least with 999, but I think all of them.
Okay, then
The
then
artist that
correct.
made the 999 characters is the same artist that does like Street Fighter characters. Like she's like a very prolific Capcom artist that does a lot of the like when you see like the classic art of like the cabinet art of like Chun-Li and Guile and all those characters, like that's the same artist as 999. It's like really recognizable too.
Yeah, yeah. I
Wait a
remember
second,
you
I
mentioning
didn't
it in
even-
the Let's Play.
I didn't even know we almost got saved.
You almost got saved.
He almost got
What do you mean?
saved.
Apparently, virtue. Whatever. The Zero Time
The-
Dilemma. Zero Time Dilemma almost just almost was never made.
Oh yeah, it took years for it to come out. They thought the franchise was
Well-
dead with Zero Escape.
Yeah, in
Which is the
2014,
type of
it was
thing that
put on hold.
it's like the type of thing that galvanizes an audience even harder to be like diehard supporters of the thing, and so on, and like fucking like you like rally the wagons, or you circle the wagons, and like no one can attack Zero Escape because it's our beloved thing and it's threatened, which makes us love it even harder, and so on. So it's like it's that kind
think-
of fan base.
I think my favorite sentence is, well, the first game performed well enough in the West for Spike Chunsoft to develop a sequel. Both games were commercial failures in Japan.
Yeah, they were. Japan doesn't give a fuck
Yeah,
about those games.
I bet Japan was like, yeah, I can read enough trash if I just go to a local manga store. I don't need to pay money for this. Like, what? I like the idea though that there's some executive who's like, look, no. And just moved on with his life. He didn't think anything more about it. He's just like, no more Zero Escape. This is garbage. I'm done with it. And then enough people bitched about it. And he's like, all right, fine. If they want it that badly, they better freaking buy it. And then it still didn't perform well in Japan. Like, like how validated is that guy? Where he's like, I fucking told you not to make another fucking Zero Escape game. I swear to God. Like,
It is pretty. It's kind of a fascinating, weird situation. Yeah, when the entire franchise is commercial failures, just one after another. But there's somehow a trilogy of them. It's like capitalism just doesn't work the way you think it does.
No,
It's fucking weird.
it's
the
all about.
scores here are fantastic. You've got like all of these are poorly rated in Japan. Within the U.S., it's like 80 out of 100. It's like, what?
Well, if that's on GameStop, that's a fail.
No, it's Metacritic,
Yeah, that's too high.
but
That's
But
lower
yeah,
than
it's
I
just
expected.
the-
People seemed really ranty and ravey about it for a while. So I'm
well,
surprised that the critical score is actually pretty mediocre.
But remember, critics actually had to play the game. Those people didn't play the game. They just like sat there and ingested
Well, I would
it
hear
like it was some kind of
critics talk
flavored
like,
ice cream.
It's like one of the most disappointing things about this entire game is the fact that like the first positive thing I heard about it and why I got excited about it in the first place was because of Giant Bomb. It's like they were ranting and raving about this crazy visual novel where every ending's simultaneously canon and stuff like that.
That's a
And they
bad
made it
idea,
sound-
by the way.
They made it sound all
can I-
cool, and instead it was really not.
Can I make it a point to say it that the every ending is technically canon? That's bad. That's a bad idea right there. That's the problem. And I'm tapping my finger on the table right now. That is the problem. And I get that
So-
you could be excited for it. It's like the oh, this game is so big you could never explore it in your lifetime if you wanted to. I know it sounds amazing. It's not. That's a bad idea as well.
I
by the way.
think you could do that. I
I-
think you could do this idea well, where every idea is
You could.
canon.
You could if you have a
you
really,
can do
really
the-
simple.
I feel like you could do basically the premise of Zero Escape, where somebody's like hopping from reality to reality in order to fix the like what's going wrong each time, and all the endings are canon. If it was just all done better, just had
Yeah,
to
they
all
did
be-
that. It's an anime. It's called Zero Escape,
doesn't have-
and it's really good.
I mean, it's so
Or not
Is
Zero
it?
Escape. Sorry, it's called
What?
It's called ReZero.
Oh, I
called
was gonna say Shibuya.
They have a
And
little
it's
bit of that in
called
Steins Gate as
We
well.
never got to beat Shibuya, but
Steins Gate
Shibuya
is-
like
Steins
Steins
Gate
Gate
is a little
is-
bit complicated.
yeah, Shibuya unfortunately or not unfortunately or fortunately, but like in Shibuya Scramble, no, not all the endings are canon, but it is the act of playing it is the act of playing Zero Escape, but entertaining and good.
Yeah, it's
It was
Shibuya Scramble is
it was
someone having fun
distracting.
with this concept.
Like, I don't know
Zero
if they
Escape is
completely
someone
fuck it
taking
up
it
by
too
the end or
seriously.
not, but it was great when we were playing it.
Oh,
I
doubt
remain
they could fuck it up.
unconvinced.
Maybe
of this
one day we'll get
possibility.
back to it. But God,
I
we'd
just-
have to review what we got so far. And reviving an old series is usually really bad because usually
need to restart.
usually very few people remember everything.
I remember that.
Like for
we
us, restarting
definitely-
sucks, but also for the audience, if you continue where you left off, like there's so little crossover of people that like remember the original episodes and still care about them, and then we'll click on the new one. Like you lost a bunch
Yeah.
of those people, and then all the new people don't know what the fuck the series is that suddenly came back, so they're just gonna ignore it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
why does it suck restarting though?
Because you got to redo it all again.
Oh.
Yeah.
And
But
you
it's been so long.
you also get
and-
stuck with
but-
these like dead end episodes that are just like dead episodes now. Like they're like the bad timeline of the playthrough. Like I have a few different times that's
Oh,
happened.
but they're
like,
all canon, Keith.
They're all
We've done it.
canon.
We've
Yeah.
created a much better story.
like I have a few versions of that. Like how there's two dead playthroughs of Deadly Premonition before I got to a new one, or the proper one that finally finished. And I have like two
the non-cursed one.
yeah, and like I'm starting a playthrough of Resident Evil 6 right now with Bird, which will probably finish, but that'll be my fourth playthrough of Resident Evil 6 before one of them finally finish. And it's like it really sucks to have like playthroughs that dead end with stuff, but you're like, I don't want to delete these episodes because what if somebody does want to watch them? But then you still have to deal with people being like mad at those videos because they don't end with like the game ending, and it's like I usually finish things, and it's like how I have like the beginning of I have like the beginnings of a Dragon Age Origins playthrough on my channel that never finished. And it's like this.
You're gonna need to start again.
Yeah.
I'm telling you the news right now. If you do that, you're gonna need to start again.
Oh yeah, no, because that was a playthrough specifically designed to get to the game quickly. So I was skipping a bunch of stuff because I was insecure with the idea of playing a giant, mega long nightmare game on your channel because like that's supposed to be what's like bad. And like,
And that
I
is
mean, it is bad.
that is a
People
big
don't do
game.
it because it's bad for your channel, and people don't
Yeah.
watch the whole thing. And like, as much as people want that stuff, they don't actually watch it most of the time. But at this point, I just say fuck it and do it anyway. But back then, I was like, oh god, I'm gonna play a game this long. I'm gonna be a quote unquote pragmatist. And so I kept like not recruiting characters because like, why would I recruit that guy? Why would I recruit Zevron? He just tried to kill me. Why would I recruit this crazy Kunari guy? Sounds like a murderer or whatever. I'm not getting mixed up with that mess. You hear about the Kunari in the first town that's in prison
He's bad,
for
yes.
murdering people, and immediately I'm like, huh, well. That's nice. Bye. And I never talk to him again. So he just dies when that town gets overtaken, and you never hear about Quen or Kern or whatever the fuck ever again.
I don't
So I have a
remember his
playthrough
name.
where like there's no Zevron and there's no Kunari guy. And there's just like half the characters are all gone, and I'm like. Because I was like, it's like a speed run of it a little bit because I was like, what the fuck do you do? It's like one thing that I had played some Dark Souls games on the channel, but like a fucking like probably 100 episode playthrough of Dragon Age. That's really intimidating if you aren't used to already doing that on your channel. So I was like, how do I like trim the fat of this? Because like me as a player would be completionist and all like committed to this and play a crazy amount of it because I've beat at that point I'd beaten the game 4 times, but like the idea of like doing a playthrough like that is fucking crazy.
Yeah, I'm playing Dragon Age 2 right now. The first one I think is easier to play on a Let's Play, but the second one is a lot harder. And like what you're referring to as being long, yeah, that's an issue, but it's an issue just because of RPGs in general. The second game you're probably going to have episodes where nothing happens and you're just doing the same fights over and over again, or you're just doing side quests that literally do not have text. The game likes to throw side quests that just you find an item in the middle of nowhere, and you go to a person, and
like
you give the item.
Mass Effect 3.
Yeah, it's
Mass
and I
Effect 3
basically- I'm-
where Shepard's a fucking creep. And he's like, hey,
Is he?
yeah, I went all the way to this distant galaxy to get this obscure relic for you because I vaguely heard you talking about it in a coffee shop. And like, I didn't approach you because I was nervous, but I got the exact thing you were talking about. And like, probably like burned a civilization in the process, whatever. Because like Mass Effect 3 was like, let's have an entire style of side quest where you never actually have a conversation with anybody. There's like
they do
20
that
of them.
They do that in Dragon Age 2 for some reason. I'm basically
because they
I'm
were made
editing
like
the
a
Let's
year
Play.
apart or something.
Because I'm editing the Let's Play, I basically do not include any of them. It's just like they don't exist, and I think that's good.
Those quests were so fucking bad in Mass Effect 3.
I'm doing something really, really devious with Fallout 3 as well. I'm playing Fallout 3 for the first time since basically it came out, and I'm doing a Let's Play.
That also happened in my Fallout 3 playthrough. That was an especially endangered playthrough because like fucking
especially endangered.
I don't know if you saw it or not, but like not only was it like an RPG when it's like that's like a scary thing to cover in a massive scale as like an open world RPG when you're not used to it, but like it was a series of Patreon nominations back when somebody could get me to play a game for an hour before I made it Let's Tries only, and that's why I did it, was because they would start a playthrough and then they would just stop nominating, and after like 4 episodes it's like, yeah, well, thousands of people wanted that to be a real playthrough, so I don't like this feeling. But I was doing a fucking speedrun playthrough of not a real speedrun, like not like exploits, but like I was like, how do I get through the entire story of Fallout 3 as fast as possible? Because I had it charted out so I could potentially beat the game in like 8 hours or something. Because I was just, it's like, all right, let's explode Megaton immediately, and like let's like go straight to the children and go straight to their problem and skip like half of the stages, like sequence break the narrative by just going to the first place you can go to by just walking there, and so on. With it, skip the entire investigation, get to your dad in like 3 episodes, that kind of shit. Go to the fucking like dimension where you hang out in like a grayscale place and everything's nice. It's like I Love Lucy or whatever, and you just murder everyone. It's like how quick can I get through all of this?
I'm doing a drastically different take on that. What I'm doing is I'm using heavy editing, and I'm editing out all the enemies.
All the enemies?
All the fights. And it's not because I want to get to the end fast. In fact, I'm doing all the side quests and it's going to take forever. It's because I really, really dislike the combat in Fallout 3, and I think it just detracts from the game.
Kinda.
And I'm basically recreating Fallout 3 it's not necessarily in my image or anything, but I'm recreating Fallout 3 into something that I think is going to be better for my sanity and for I'm basically mixing a Let's Play with more creativity, and not I mean, I'm not changing the dialogue or anything, but it is sort of, I'm leaving some enemies, like for example, I find a super mutant, and super mutants in that game are really they're a crime against humanity. They just say things like, "I will eat you," and they speak like it's so silly.
I like how
and
you
bad.
paused at each word, like he had to think about the next word in that really generic sense.
It's just so like for my Let's Play, it's an early quest where you basically go to a town, and people are saying, "Oh, the super mutants kidnapped our doctor and our trader, and they sent them up there. Go and get them." And I go there, and if I had to fight them, it would be just it's the sadness that Fallout 3 is for me of just
every time
so
I hear
much
about
combat.
Fallout 1 and 2, and especially about how the super mutants are characterized in the original games, I'm like, oh, Bethesda did an evil, like
evil, absolutely.
Ruined they ruined the entire super mutant like species and like their premise of why they exist on like a fundamental level.
And especially because super mutants are so entrenched with the root of Fallout lore, which is the FEV, which is the thing that makes mutants for a large part. And they specifically were born in a specific place called Mariposa Base in California, and that's where they are. And Fallout 3 takes place across the country, and there's super mutants there trying to eat people, saying, "I will eat you." And kidnapping people so they can eat them better or something. And it's just like, either way, my point is, I think I'm starting to see the first few reactions of people in the comments as it dawns on them that there's something really different about my Let's Play of Fallout 3.
Yeah, I was like, this sounds like a really unusual choice. So I was wondering how the fuck the audience would be reacting to it.
People are like, there should be raiders over there. Why are they all dead? Why is that place empty? And
You're just not explaining it. You're just letting it flow.
I'm just letting it. Yeah, absolutely. I find what I did with the first Super
I mean, they're
Mutant
gonna
that I
know
saw.
now.
Well, yeah, they might. Yeah, I'm semi explaining it in the comments as well, but obviously not everybody reads the comments or makes a comment. But the like the first Super Mutant I found, I just found it in the middle of the wasteland on my way to the town where they had kidnapped the people from that town, and I changed in the console commands. I changed the Super Mutant to be passive, and just not attack me. And it's a really sweet, interesting moment where you see this big hulk of a person just going around the wasteland, and you go up to them, and he says, "Talk," and that's his line, because they have a line if they're not aggressive, they just say that. And I just, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just going on my way." I'm just sort of making this story around as if the game wasn't full of because there's so many enemies, and it's so lore breaking, because there's literally like 200 people that don't attack you in the whole game, but there's thousands of enemies attacking you. And, and it's just like,
it's a problem that was kind of recreated in Outer Worlds, where you're just like,
exactly.
This starting planet's really fucked up by the sheer number of random people I'm murdering. It really fucks with the tone of everything we're supposed to be like worrying about. Oh no, the sanctity of life or whatever. Anyway, every time I step outside, I'm gonna kill like 30 people. And I'm the one choosing to do that. Like, I'm stepping outside knowing that I'm going to fight like 30 people and murder them. I'm Nathan Draking the fuck out of this game. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
It's hard to reconcile the two.
I think I might have said that in my last few episodes of The Outer Worlds, was that if The Outer Worlds 2 comes out, I think maybe that was where the idea in my head started to appear of doing this sort of Let's Play. When I play The Outer Worlds 2, I will edit out all the combat. Basically. I'll play on minimum difficulty, and because it's so weird, like a lot of the design decisions in the Outer Worlds is a lot of the design decisions are just go counter to what a shooter is. Like, for example, in that game, your ammo doesn't weigh anything, and you find ammo. The ammo is the vast majority of the loot that you find, and the in terms of like, if you see 3 loot spots, 2 of them is going to be ammo, another one is going to be weapons.
Yeah, which makes sense. You don't want to. It'd be weird if more guns dropped than bullets.
Like, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah,
like, is this a metaphor?
But by the end of the game, you have so much ammo that, at least for me, I had thousands and thousands and thousands of ammo, and I basically didn't pick up anything, because the weapons are heavy, and I really don't need them because they are a pain in the ass to have to upgrade and all that. And the way the upgrade
that entire
works,
genre has too much loot.
Yeah, way too much loot, and most of it is ammo that you don't need. And the ammo is universal. So all light weapons use the same ammo. All heavy long guns use the same ammo. All energy weapons use the same ammo. So it's universal. So it's uninteresting to begin with. And all the weapons are basically upgrades of each other as well. So they're also uninteresting to begin with. You never find a cool weapon that has a different mechanic or a. It's basically the same thing. You always know what you're gonna find.
Playing that game was interesting because, like, there was really obvious parts where they were held back by like a lack of scale and like the inability to like fully commit like how much they'd have to do to make that a particular game like actually fleshed out, and like there wasn't like enough planets and so on, like spaces. But like all of the game's biggest problems were the fact that it was a Fallout sequel. Like all of its most damning mistakes are the fact that are things that it recreated from Fallout 3 and New Vegas that were just none of this actually fits with like the setting or the story and so on. It's like it kind of shows you like it reminds you outside of Disco Elysium like how much like both like anywhere from middle tier to top end RPGs budget wise are just like cowardly and have to follow a really specific formula out of like fear of doing anything else.
But that's Bethesda's fault. Bethesda made Fallout 3, and as such, they made Fallout into what it is today. And that's why I'm saying, like, it's what I'm saying. It's why I agree with you completely. Is what I mean to say. Because it is sort of a new Fallout. If Fallout 5 were done by Obsidian, and if it were done by the same people who made Fallout 1, even if it were done by me, who have these opinions, I would still have to make a game for an audience that got to know Fallout by what Bethesda made, and even an audience that likes Fallout for what Bethesda made. So yeah, Fallout is
People
Fallout 1 and 2
like
are
76.
I don't even. I mean, it's yeah, but I mean that's the thing. Like, it's not just about what it was. The fact that the new sequels have success changes what the franchise is, and even if they wanted to make something more akin to the original Fallouts, where it's more point and click or more character oriented rather than dungeon oriented, they still have to know. They know when they design the game that it's going to be played by people who are expecting a dungeon crawler, which is what Fallout 4 and 3 and 76
Yeah,
are.
like they're hobbled by it. Like,
Yeah.
on a creative level and like a game being coherent level, the takeaway would be that they took all the wrong lessons from Fallout New Vegas, because Fallout New Vegas was good in spite of Fallout 3, whereas Outer Worlds is like hobbled by its weird loyalty to New Vegas and Fallout 3 that is just like badly clashes with everything they actually are doing in their game. But from a profitability perspective, being able to market yourself as being a spiritual successor to Fallout New Vegas is how you get the funding for the game and a bunch of people's interest in buying it. But that means you then have to follow through with making it like New Vegas, even though that's a bad idea.
Exactly. I still think it was I had fun with the game. I just, it is, I don't know. It's just like, I like shooters. I know I come across, because I'm criticizing Outer Worlds and Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 for their combat, and New Vegas as well. It's not that I don't like shooters. I like shooters. I tried the last shooter that I tried. I think was Metro. I tried to play on a Let's Play. I think it was Metro, the second Metro, and those are games that I enjoy. And I'm a big fan of Stalker and a big fan of the original Far Cry. Was really cool for me. I really liked it, and I like competitive shooters. I like the gameplay.
Yeah,
it's just that the gameplay doesn't fit. Yeah, it just doesn't fit for a traditional role playing game.
Yeah,
so if you want to make a role playing game,
it needs such a body count to have a coherent campaign. But that's like your average shooter already kind of struggles to justify why you're murdering so many people, and so like they get away with it often by making them monsters or zombies or whatever. But it varies greatly from shooter to shooter. But like having an RPG full of like moral choices and having to like essentially ignore all the mass murder you're doing when you're playing as your quote unquote good character just really muddies the water in a strange way. And like this even happens when you're playing like not even shooters, but like Star Wars, like KOTOR and stuff like that, and you have like the body count that those kinds of games have, and it's just like, to some extent it's just like the length of a game. Like those are adaptations of movies that are about morality, and those movies are like 2 hours long every few years, but the game is like 40 to 80 hours long, and that such a huge body count comes with that it leads to this really weird dissonance problem with players, which is why, like around the time BioShock Infinite came out, the ludonarrative dissonance got driven into the ground as a term that was just said constantly. But it was like, it's a truthful concept where it's like, what am I supposed to think about this character in the context of this universe and what's happening in it? Like, it fucks with the narrative in many cases and the characterization. Like Joel is not a character that has dissonance in his character, but Drake sure is. Nathan Drake's a nightmare. Like, what the fuck is wrong with him? He's like smiling as he kills like 100 brown people per game or more, and it's like, it's so fucking weird, and it's like justified as like, but the relics will like end the world maybe or whatever. And it's like, you keep going on these adventures where so many people die. How are you excited about doing it a fifth time? You know it's gonna happen. There's gonna be so much blood on your hands. Whereas like Joel is actually characterized as a murderer. He's a horrible human being. Like, that was the point. And it's like, that's why Last of Us is so much easier to accept narratively than Uncharted is, because like Uncharted is a fucking like nightmare where you're supposed to just be like happy with this. And I'm like, why did you characterize him like this?
I it's,
I don't.
And like every
yeah.
time you play as the good guy in an RPG, you're supposed to, like, you're basically making Nathan Drake. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in, man.
I think that's one of the reasons why. Well, it's not. It's one of the many reasons, but it's definitely one of the reasons why I think a turn-based system, a turn-based combat system, is better for role-playing games, because you can, if you think about it, like the experience you have when you're fighting a monster in a shooter, or when you're fighting people in a shooter, especially if those people have weapons, the experience you have is actually very different. Both in terms of the story that you're creating, because obviously you're killing people or monsters, but also in terms of the dynamics of the characters in the monsters, because they can jump, or they can explode, or they can throw up on you, or whatever. It's very different, right? If you play a Left 4 Dead, or if you play a Call of Duty. But in a turn-based system, that's not at all how it works. The difference doesn't exist quite as much. And in the best role-playing systems, what they do, and precisely because the differences are so difficult to establish, what they do is they sort of slow down the pace. Like, for example, Banner Saga for me has one of the best turn-based combat systems. It's not the system itself; it's just how well it's done and how well it's fine-tuned. That Rabid Mario game for the Nintendo Switch had the same sort of attention to gameplay mechanics, and I think even more than XCOM had. And I say had, I compare it to XCOM because it's done by the same people who made XCOM, right? The Rabbids and Mario turn-based
I
combat.
believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So in that game, they had really close attention to, like, this person attacks this way, and there's this type of attack. It's very different, or it procs, or it synergizes with this sort of block, or with this sort of map, and all that. And so the strategery of your combat is more related to the mechanics of the gameplay, or of the game itself, rather than the enemies. Obviously, the enemies also matter, but what I'm saying is that when you play Fallout 1 and you start out by, you can just skip that, but you start out by, there's rats in the dungeon where you start, and it's sort of a tutorial. You start out by using the rats as a tutorial, and you fight them. The sort of motions that you're going through in that turn-based system are basically the same motions that you go through at the end of the game when you're fighting super mutants or whatever you're fighting at the end. It's basically the same thing. The gameplay mechanic is the same thing. And that's why I like, just to bring it back to why I like turn-based, is because it allows you, because because the mechanic, or rather because the gameplay is not dependent on what kind of enemies you're fighting. It's dependent on the mechanics of the game. It allows you to tell different stories by, instead of you having to fight a bunch of people, because in a shooter that kind of, it's more fun when the enemies shoot back, or it can be fun when the enemies shoot back. In a turn-based system, you can fight literally anything. You can fight chairs, and you can still have fun because it's all about the system. It's all about the puzzles in the turn-based combat. And I think that's why it fits better in RPG. One of the many reasons. There's many reasons, but turn-based just fits better in RPGs because the literal clicking and moving the mouse and pressing keys on the keyboard, the literal aspect of playing the game is not dependent on whether you're killing people or killing monsters. You can do whatever. You can tell whatever story. I don't know. It's my ramble about turn-based. I know Andrew doesn't like turn-based.
I don't know. I'm not, well, it's not that it's just I'm not the target. That's it. I'm just not the target demographic for any of this. RPGs are not a game that are made for me. And every time I try to endeavor to play an RPG, it turns out the same. And it's never the intended method because the game itself doesn't seem to facilitate my wants and desires.
Yeah.
So like I just have to accept that I am not meant to be playing these games.
Yeah.
My only annoyance is I get really I hate that there are games that sell themselves as being made for me. Like I hate games that try selling themselves with the guise of like, even if you try to do it the worst way, the game will work around you. And it's like, don't lie to me. You fucking idiots didn't choose. You didn't make a game for me because I'm worse than you could ever imagine. Like I'm the guy that's like, why would you fucking do that? How did you beat the game like this? Like that's me. And so like Fallout is a great example. I've been playing Fallout New Vegas recently, and that game is just not made for me. I've broken it so many times in ways that I clearly can see the game was not ready for, and I constantly find myself in like in situations that the game just can't balance any kind of narrative around, where like I basically would go and I would talk to a person because I know that they have something I need, and the moment they gave me the thing, I just turn around and shoot their brains off. And it's like, what? Well, I mean, how are you gonna? The game's like, well, you got the thing, but now you can't you won't get any of the gratification for doing this, and like killing this person means you get bad karma, and like this is not ideal. You don't want to be in this situation, and then you go and do a thing, and it's like, well, okay, I made people happy now. It's like, see, so killing the person didn't matter, and like, but then narratively speaking, that's stupid. I basically am just like a
murder hoe.
I'm just like well, yeah, but I don't just do it indiscriminately. It's just something ticks me off. I don't like how the way person talked to me, and so I'll sit there and I'll let them finish doing their stupid talk, and I'll agree, and I'll give them all the like. I met a character who like you have to basically be like flaunting their ego for, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm really smart, aren't I? Yeah, you could never do anything for me.
Did you meet Fantastic? You met Fantastic.
Yeah, I met Fantastic, and like literally after the first line of dialogue, I was like, I'm gonna kill him, and I was like, oh wait, I probably can't kill him though because he's like too obnoxious. Yeah, it's like he's too obnoxious to be a guy that you can't kill. And so I waited until after I was like, yeah, I'll help you, and he gives me this thing I need. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I just turned around and shot him in the face and killed him. And then a guy ran up behind me. He's like, hey, you can't do that. And so I shot that guy in the face.
And then the NCR all turns against you.
Well, yeah, so then the NCR was like really upset about me, which I was like, okay, well, that's fine. So I just ran out. I just basically ran out of the place and booked it all the way into the building I was supposed to go into, and then just turned on a self-defense system, and it just wiped them all out for me.
Yes,
and I was like, oh, okay, I didn't have to do anything. So I just walked outside, and I was like, hey, you guys are all dead. This was easy. And I just moved on with my life, and it's just fine. But then, like, the same thing happened where I was walking down the wasteland and minding my own business, and, like, some Legion guys showed up, and they were, like, clearly way too high a level to be jumping me.
Oh, they will, yes.
But I literally wiped out every powder ganger in the entire game.
Powder gangers are small fry.
Yeah, but they all have dynamite on them.
Dynamite.
And if there's one thing that Legion people don't have any defense against, it's fucking dynamite. And so I literally all I did was I have my companion, which I just have like the little robot companion. And so all of them were busy fighting that thing, but my companion can't die. So fucking time to lob a bunch of dynamite at these people while they're busy with my robot. Just up. And everything just dies. There's nothing has even come close to like punishing me in this. And even when I interact
you haven't
with
met
people,
the Death Claws yet.
It's like I have met a Death Claw.
Did you? And he didn't kill you?
All I did, I just dumped frag grenades and mines into it, and it died.
Yes.
Like, and it's just like the game, but again, because I play like such a dumb fucking asshole, that the game doesn't build itself around this idea. The game's built with the intention that you're trying to like find a story or a narrative or try to like role play in some way. But like I said, like I've always talked about, when I play role-playing games, I play them as if I'm a deity, that I just accidentally just found myself on this mortal plane of existence, and now I'm just going to cause chaos and get the ending I want, which is just whatever ending makes everyone happy. And so like most of those endings are involving wiping out every single faction, because every faction is not good for humanity. Like the NCR are bad, Caesar's Legion are bad, and I don't remember who the other people were.
There's
the Brotherhood of Steel,
the followers of the Apocalypse. There's the Brotherhood of Steel.
It does. Literally everyone I met except for the town of Good Springs has been nothing but unnecessary to my existence. Like I don't need any of them around. They could just. You don't
like the followers?
Not. I don't want it. No, I don't like anybody who's like.
I don't remember.
There are people who are you talking about, like the overly religious people?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they gotta go. You can't have religion. Like a religion doesn't exist in my world. It only brings detriment to society. So you have to like wipe them out. And so like eventually you get to like Hoover Dam and there's no one fucking there. There's just no one fucking. You've wiped everyone out. They're all gone. And so like the game just seizes. It stops and looks at you and is like,
What have you done with me?
I don't know what you wanted, dude. There's no one left. You've done it all. You've wiped everything out. It's like, so I have Hoover Dam now.
There's a lot of people.
So now I'm.
There's a lot of people that play the game like that. I think. I definitely remember
but
hearing.
the game isn't built like that.
I think
that's the
it
thing. The
is.
game isn't. Is it? Because the game doesn't.
So.
It's not rewarding.
Yeah,
in any capacity. Like there's no story. The story just
play like
dead
that.
ends.
I think you play like that, but you don't think like a lot of people do, which is there's the inherent satisfaction of you. Oh, look, I killed every single NPC in the game. I am good. You know, I think that's a reward in and of itself because it's like an achievement, right? And I think a lot of people look at it like that, but you're expecting more, which you're right to. I said it before. I think RPGs should be made for you because your attitude towards it is it's a lot more natural than what a lot of certainly old school RPGs or old school role players tend to have towards the game. Because when you play a role playing game, there's a mixture. It depends on the game, obviously, and the mixture will change depending on the game. But there's a mixture of puzzle solving and so you're trying to solve a puzzle where, okay, let's figure out how I can get this character to say interesting things to me. You know what I mean? You're trying to make the right choices or get the right items or do the right quests. And that's the puzzle solving aspect of it. But on the other hand, there's also the make-believe aspect of RPGs. And certainly worse RPGs require you to make more believe, where you're just sort of like, okay, I'm playing a cleric and I want to heal everyone. So in your head, you tell a story that your cleric is going around being nice to everyone, but the game doesn't actually let you do that, for example. But that's still part of what RPGs give you, is that sort of option where, like, for example, like the last time I played New Vegas, I only used unarmed weapons. Unarmed weapons, I know it sounds silly. I punched people, basically, and I had, like, spiked knuckles, and I have a power fist and whatever. But so I go around punching everybody. And in my head, obviously the game doesn't recognize that I do that, apart from the fact that people explode when I punch them. But in my head, it's fun because I made a character that punches people, and also I don't have to deal with the weapons, which is a bonus. So like there's this aspect, there's a duality of RPGs where it's the puzzle solving, which in your case you don't care about the puzzle, you care about the reward, which is a legitimate attitude. And on the other hand, there's the make-believe, which you also don't care about because you don't. It's not about the make-believe. It's about how the game reacts to your attitudes. At least that's how I understand what you're saying. Do you know what I mean with the duality?
But it's like I like the puzzles. I don't have a problem immersing myself into the world and exploring it. The problem I have tends to always be people can't see the world the way that people can't see the problems in the world that they live in. I am a third party. I can see all the problems. I know all the problems. I know how to fix those problems. But everyone can't see beyond the small pre-programmed scope that they have. And so I don't have time, or I don't need to have time to try to explain it to these people because their existence doesn't matter. So I can just do what I need to do to save the day. Like Helios 1, I gave power to the entire Nevada. I fixed it. I got power to everybody. The end, right? That's it. I don't have to do anything. Like I did the right thing.
But that's what I mean by
what
puzzle
you're supposed
solving,
to do.
Is that you old school RPGs specifically, but RPGs in general, they sort of engender this need in people to figure out, what if I did something different? Like, what if instead of giving it to all of Nevada, I just sent it all to New Vegas? What would happen? And that's what I mean by the puzzle solving aspect, is that because you know what I mean. But I'm not saying that everybody likes that idea of what if I did something different. A lot of people don't. A lot of people just play role playing games, role playing themselves, and being like, what would I do in this situation? Which is a way to play role playing games, and it's an easy way to immerse yourself in the world. But it certainly doesn't allow you to do different things because you're a single person. You're not gonna do two things. You do one thing. But it's still an aspect of it allows you to. It lets you know that there's multiple possibilities. And one thing that RPGs do, some of them, The Witcher 1 did this, for example, is because they want people to see that there's different choices. What they do is they give you unexpected consequences to your actions. So, for example, the thing that looks the good thing to do actually results in the bad choice. So when you replay the game, you do the bad choice, so it gets the good choice. Joke's on you, you get an even worse choice because this is The Witcher. What did you expect? But still, it's I don't know. I think your attitude comes from maybe not having grown up playing things like Baldur's Gate and JRPGs. Do that as well. But
my first RPG was Fallout 3, and I played that like in high school, and it was the same problem. The same problem of I showed up. I think the moment that the game was like, all right, you're leaving the vault, I literally killed everyone in the vault because I hated all of them. I was stuck in this vault with people I didn't want to be around. And so any person I could find that was part of the vault, I murdered them. And so my prerogative was like, you got to find your dad. Yeah, to kill him because he's the one that escaped the vault and he needs to die first. And let the cockroaches in.
Like, do you know that it's canonical that the cockroaches at the beginning of the game are because your dad opens the vault door so the cockroaches come in. Oh my god, that is so silly.
But that was the thing, is like I had to sit there for so long and I hated every minute of it. Like I hated being stuck in this like on rails thing. It's like, why did I even create a character if I don't even get a freedom of choice? Like I have no agency.
The amount of cutting that I did at the intro.
And so like the moment you leave, it's just like, go find your dad. And it's like, yeah, no fucking shit, Cock's gun. It's like, I'm gonna find him for sure. And like then the quest just becomes like, how does Andrew get to his dad as fast as possible? So you talk to people. Well, yeah. And so I just talk to the people that like, oh, find your dad here, and then you shoot that person and you keep moving. It's because like, if they know your dad, they're not good people. They need to go away. And so you just have to keep going and going until you get to where your dad is, and then you just kill him. You just.
What you're saying is Fallout is a Star Wars.
Fallout is a Star.
I mean, yes, basically. I don't know. It's just my method is just always like, I want to do whatever is good for society, but I'm not going to tolerate diplomacy to get there. I have no need and no desire and no one can tell me no. That's the thing, is like no one in this game can stop me from not taking the diplomatic route. I will always come out on top.
The American way.
Yeah, but it's like, but realistically, like these are just dumb computers. They can't do anything.
That's true. Of course, yeah.
They can't stop me. They have no agency. So if I want something,
so in order to get you to engage, like an RPG has to do the same thing that horror needs to do to get you to engage, which is to make you powerless.
Yes, basically. Like an RPG has to make it so I do not have the power except diplomacy. I have to talk my way into every situation. Because if you give me the option to be violent, violence is the easiest option. You don't have to do anything.
Or Disco Elysium.
Did you play Disco Elysium, Andrew?
No, because I was waiting until, because I didn't want to. Well, yeah, I want to play it, but I was waiting until the voice acting patch came out, because I was recording it and I was trying to do all the voices, and that quickly became impossible.
Yeah.
And so it was like, okay, I can't talk for everybody, because like I literally talked to these two old fucking guys playing whatever the fuck, and it was like an hour. It was like an hour of like geopolitical talk, and I was like, I don't even know what the fucking you just said, because my voice is hoarse.
He had the weirdest opening hour I've ever seen of Disco Elysium. I think it took me 2 hours to leave the building.
Oh, you just left the building?
But he just walked right outside and found the old people playing ball, and that was his opening hour of the game.
Wow.
Well, I did. I talked to people inside. I talked to all the people I could see.
You didn't throw yourself against the lady in the wheelchair, though.
No, I just moved on. Like, my prerogative is I'm there to solve a fucking crime. I'm gonna solve the fucking crime. I'm not gonna
so many comments that are mad at me for not being lol random enough in the opening hours of that game.
I don't even. I don't even like. Yeah, I can't even imagine. But like, I want to play Disco Elysium because I like the idea of just like talking through all of your stuff. But the problem is that
because it allows you to be zany if you want. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, I probably.
Or
but realistically, if
both.
But
yes.
Well, that's the thing. Is like if I do not have the option to be violent, I will most likely be like overly democratic, where I will do whatever it takes to get people to be like as
You have the option
as
to
like
be violent.
working together. Yeah, as well,
you do,
You know
but
what I mean.
it might not
like
result in-
Fallout level violent.
Oh, no,
Where
no,
like
you're not. There's no
if I can-
enemies.
like yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Is like if
The
an
greatest
RPG
enemy
has
is
an enemy
yourself,
system,
and there's 12 of
Yes.
them.
yeah, if an RPG has an enemy system, I will wipe them out systematically. Like I will. It doesn't matter what your army is. I will stop them from ground to leadership.
My
I will
immediate-
kill them all.
My
You
immediate reaction
essentially
is
choose
why...
your enemies in the form of your stats.
Yes.
Which is that sounds great. I mean I don't know. It's just
It's such a great...
but at the same time it needs to be engaging enough to make me want to do diplomacy. Because if you're gonna have like I will say I didn't immediately rush to playing Disco Elysium the moment the patch came out because there's still this part of me that like is kind of soured from that first hour of playing where I was like, okay, this is kind of good and all, but I really didn't care about almost everything people said to me. Like it was really tough to
It's fantasy.
to parse the information through because it's just a lot of like especially when you I don't know maybe the route I took but there's like I talked to a lot of people and none of them had anything relevantly important for me to listen to. All like none of it helped me with this crime
Yeah, that's
that
the
I'm
thing.
trying to solve, and I was like, I'm here for one task, and if I cannot do this one task, I will not retain the information from you people.
Yeah,
like I will not
Disco
talk to
Elysium
you. I will not.
Basically doesn't
Yeah.
focus on the crime. It's all tangential.
Well, then we're gonna have a hard fucking time because that's all I want to do.
It's very Beastars
I
season 1.
fucking great. I just
like you can
all I want to do is
you
solve
can
the
focus on the crime,
I-
but you need to be like if you want to focus on the crime, you can absolutely do that. But you're gonna need to be you're gonna need to stop talking to people. Like you go to the old folks and you can't ask them about the crime, or you ask them and they say, "Oh yeah, it's there," and you just say, "Okay, bye." And you can do that. You can beeline the quest line, but there's a lot more. So there's all the side quests basically, and it's this lady that you're convinced that her husband is missing, and she's just reading some books. Or there's this kid that is Kuno, or there's this scab. Or there's this scab that has mismatched clothes, and stuff connects, but it's the attitude that you have
It's
to
a
have
holistic RPG.
Yeah, the
All the
attitude that you have
surrounding
to have.
world actually folds back into the narrative in many cases, into the crime.
Yeah,
Ugh.
but you can absolutely
That means I have to
beeline
rub
it.
my face against every person.
Yes, that is how the game is designed. But you can
'Cause
absolutely
it's
skip
so-
the
Well,
dialogue.
yeah.
If
The time won't pass if you don't rub your face at
Yeah.
everyone. Time only
yeah,
passes by
that's-
talking to people. Like if you stand still, the clock doesn't move.
yeah,
and so this becomes like a second layer problem for me, which is I at my core wish I could fucking remove point and click games from the face of the human planet. I fucking
Oh no,
hate
it's like a point and click
games.
RPG.
it's RPGs are all point and
hate
click.
them because I don't. All I do is I just angrily click, 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 click. Shut up. Just do the thing. Just take the thing I have. I want to be done. Like I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
I
sit here
understand.
and listen to someone talk to me about how this fishing pole doesn't go here because you haven't talked to the other guy. It's the fucking fishing pole. It doesn't go anywhere else.
The
Take
biggest-
it. And it's like, no, you haven't talked to the guy. It's like I'm gonna fucking kill you. Like
Andrew
You
was
don't-
it's like
designed
I
for
just-
one video game, and that game is Banjo-Kazooie.
and Doom.
I don't
Those
think-
are the only two games that my entire dumb child brain works at. It's like pick up all the items or kill literally everything. Those are the only two modes my brain can compute.
I don't
and it's
think,
like anything.
I don't think Disco Elysium has that problem though, because the way they gate you from content is, for example, like you find the corpse, you find the scene of the crime, and you need to get the corpse out of the tree. It's in the tree, and you have some choices, and you can deal with them. And you're doing the main quest, right? When you're doing those things.
Yeah,
But
there's
then
no
you
like
imagine-
combine chicken with pulley to make solution.
But there's
nonsense.
Okay.
The way they gate it is that if you fail, for example, which you likely will, although you might not, if you fail to get the corpse out of the tree, your companion tells you maybe this or maybe that. It gives you some options for you to do. But the act of figuring out how to now get the corpse out of the tree is you going around asking people. So maybe you go to the big strong guy, or maybe you go to the boss, the crime boss or something. and you know, if you mess around with them. So the gating isn't you haven't talked to this person, it's you don't know what person you need to talk to. Do you know what I mean? So like, for example, I know the game
There's a
more
lot
or
of
less.
there's a lot of problems in Disco Elysium that have like 8 solutions, 2 of which I don't know still, despite having beaten the game.
Yeah. But like you probably can write down a walkthrough how to beat the main quest as fast as possible. I know all the steps. I mean, I am playing the game, so I have the advantage there. But like I could just tell you do go here, go there, and if you can pass through this, and I could just give you a list of things to do, and you do the main quest, and it still involves you going all over the place and talking to every person, because you know, even simple things like where are you gonna put the body.
Where are you going to sleep tonight?
Also that, yes.
It's a genuine logistical concern in that game.
I wish they had made food being an issue. It would be so nice sitting down with Kim for lunch.
You just wanted to fully commit to being pathologic.
Wouldn't it be nice just to go into the cafe and being like, sitting down, okay, what will I have this morning or whatever?
I mean,
and
I'll
then
take
Kim
any
says nice
excuses
things.
to have more conversations with Kim.
Yeah. And then it could be good because it would like summarize what you just did. It would make sense because you eat. Although it would certainly undercut that one line where Kim says you haven't drunk any water in the last 2 days, which is an amazing line.
This will be the big question:
amazing,
is if by the end of this, like, will Andrew finally like a party member, or will he also hate Kim?
I don't think he can hate Kim.
Is like with you for like the entire game.
I think Andrew is gonna like Kim.
Like, I think you can really antagonize him and get him to go away a fair number of times, but like it's like heartbreaking.
Yeah, I'm doing a little bit of that in my playthrough because I'm a bad person, and Kim just shows how kind of a person he is. It's just he's just unrelenting. I think Andrew's gonna like Kim.
Fun, Andrew.
I'm excited, I guess. It's just I don't know. I'm reassured that there's not any of the stupid like here are 6 items, combine them to one just so you can shake a milkshake.
No,
like I hate.
No, it's
that
only
stuff.
point and
I
click
hate
in the
it
way
so
where you'll
much.
like you'll explore this whole map, and a series of weird skill checks or secrets will allow you to access different locations as you learn new things or find new items, and then you'll be like, oh shit, this has stuff that actually wraps back around to that, and I can use that back there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well that's normal. That's just how like real life works. So that's fine.
The one thing that I do recommend is that you, like obviously you can, you can have trouble with any mechanic in the game. Like simple things like taking drugs can be difficult. I found that there's a bug basically that if you equip a drug to take it, it doesn't allow you to take the drug. You need to unequip it and equip it again. I don't know if it's on my system only, but like even. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know how to explain it. But like things like when you have some dialogue lines that are skill checks, and those are random based, so you have a better chance to succeed or you have a lower chance to succeed. And there's the red skill checks and there's the white skill checks, and that mechanic can be a little bit confusing. What I recommend that you do is once you figure it out, if you need help, of course we're here to help.
The game explains what they are.
It does. But there's one thing that it's easy to miss, which is the plus and the minuses that you get to those chances, and they're really interesting and funny sometimes. Like for example, you have a chance that it's like a 50-50 chance that you succeed at this, but you get a +1 to your dice throw because you talk to this person, and when you hover over those skill checks, you can see the +1 and the -1 or whatever that you get from this, and you should read those if you want, because not only does it inform you of what is going on and gives you a little bit more detail about why maybe you feel more confident about what's going on, or maybe you figure something out, but it's also funny. Some of the pluses and minuses are really interesting. Certainly with a main quest, I think later on the pluses and minuses they become part of the storytelling. Like it's a pop-up on a skill check that tells you why you have such a good chance, and that is part of the storytelling that you have a +1 on certain thing. Because sometimes it's like you saw a scarf outside or something. I don't remember any example off the top of my head without being spoilery. But sometimes it's also weird. Like for example, you're wearing a jacket and you have a +1 to a skill check to convince somebody that they're wrong about something, and you're wearing a jacket, you have a +1, and like you're not cold because you're wearing a jacket. And you're like, why would you do that? And the reason is because your shivers is not gonna screw with you, because your shivers is a scumbag and always screws with you when you're cold. It's not when you're cold, but yeah, shivers is a skill. It's such an incredible game. It's just such an interesting idea that skill checks get pluses and minuses based off of interactions with the world, and they're everywhere. It's great.
Well, this is the latest we've ever gone.
Yep.
We would definitely need to wrap up.
How long has it been?
Over 3
yes,
hours.
It is the longest.
You know, my
yes.
food arrived a while ago, and so I went to get it. And you guys were, when I got back, you guys were having like a heated conversation about Fallout. So I just sat here and ate all of it silently. And I'll just have to mute my microphone to make sure no like eating sounds get in. But I'm just like sitting here listening to a bunch of conversation while eating my entire dinner, and I'm already done.
Well,
nice.
You're ready for Final Fantasy then?
Now Andrew has to get ready. That's why I gotta go.
Yeah, now I need to.
Yeah,
now I need to get
he's
ready.
gotta like walk his dog probably and stuff.
Shadow.
Yeah, I already have food, but I gotta walk. Yeah.
He has life that is dependent on him. Enjoy that thought after all that talk about Fallout, audience.
If it makes you feel any better, I don't. Dogs don't talk to me, so they get to pass.
See you guys next time.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.